We're live.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to ETN, the European Technology Network. We are back, and we are back with a special episode coming from the Cherry
We're live.
Ventures. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to ETN. Take a look where we are. How's the lighting? Are we looking good? We're looking good.
We're back in London, which is nice.
Why are we here? We're here to support Cherry Ventures. It's an amazing day. They're hosting their summit. We've got a bunch of founders, pre-seed founders, post-seed founders. We've got some VCs to talk to. Everyone's upstairs right now in a meeting. But we are about to welcome our first guest on. Before I do that, let me just tell you about the run of the show. Will Caplan, co-founder and CEO of Tano. Carlos Reyna, GTM lead and managing partner at 11 Labs and Boa Ventures. Duncan Barrigan, founder and CEO of Lunos. Michael Bajwa, CEO and co-founder of Zaro, joining with Chen as well, the CTO and co-founder. They've just raised 5.1 million from Cherry Ventures. Filip Dams, founding partner at Cherry Ventures, and also Dinika, partner at Cherry Ventures. Varun is back again, third time on the show. Varun Anand, co-founder of Clay. Jill Ellis, chief of football at FIFA. Harry Wetherald, co-founder and CEO at Maze. Joana Cartocci, founder and CEO at Robeaute. Adam Lasri, co-founder and general partner at Yellow. And also Hermann Hauser, the co-founder of ARM, who's also running his own venture company. Without further ado, let's bring on our first guest of the day.
We should.
We'll be welcoming in
Business Bank
Will
Caplan.
Caplan.
Do you want a financial platform built for the pace of modern business? Go to lx.com.
Let's
go. We got
Where are we going to put Will? Will, come in over here.
We're a little bit,
Will's going to go to the left.
Squished.
Can you budge one up? And we're going to put Will on the left.
Okay,
here.
yeah, wait. Hold on.
We're gonna shift over.
Oh yeah. There we go. What an average.
Okay, we'll bring that over here.
You move back a touch.
Is this good?
Which mic do you want?
I think you go whichever one feels comfortable.
Choose whichever one.
Yeah?
Maybe put the other one like
away. Yeah, nice.
Yeah, nice.
Okay, I might readjust this one slightly. But Will, welcome to the show again. How have you been, mate?
Yeah, all good. Super excited to be here.
What do you think of the set?
The set's awesome. I don't know if people can see behind the camera, but it's literally like right in the front entrance as soon as you walk in.
Yeah, we want
it's
people
very, very
walking
cool.
like around us, which is going to be quite cool. I'm quite excited.
We are a little bit worried that we're a fire hazard.
Yeah. Well, anyway, look, talk to us about Tano. Talk to us. Tell us. Give us the update since the last time. I was
on pretty recently, so I appreciate you guys having back yet again.
This guy's on our cap table. Right?
Open seat. Open seat. No, things are good. I'm here to talk to the Cherry investors that lot today about programmatic influencer marketing. We've obviously had a lot of conversations over the last year or so about social. I'm very keen on your guys' thoughts on like new media. You guys, I mean, obviously we're in the social space, we're in the influencer space, but that very much becomes like part of the new media umbrella.
Yeah.
And we find it very funny because our office is right opposite Sifted. Like literally we have glass panels that look into each other's offices.
Oh, no way, really?
And I'm good friends with you guys. We find it very funny. But
frequent cap wearers. Shout out to Sifted.
Frequent cap wearers. But yeah.
I saw a take on new media. So Founders Fund recently did the Mafia thing. Am I good here on distance to the mic? We're okay. Founders Fund did that Mafia thing, which is amazing, right? And I know that Dylan at TBPN wrote a really cool piece around the best way to summarize new media today is applying a premise of taking a creative element of a show or a skit or something external to the industry that we sit in and applying it to something in technology. So like they did Mafia or I think in the UK we call it Traitors. And applying it to that. But another take, like someone basically just said new media it should be rebranded as corporate media.
Interesting.
People are talking about how new media has already been like, it's already a thing. Like, why are we calling it new media?
It's just media, right?
Like, it is media. That's all it is. And so it's just like, it is the ability of people to go and create their own content. You know, everything else is being kind of, you know, I can go and pick up a mic for a few £100. You know, I can pick up an iPhone that has, you know, professional grade, you know, like lighting, all of that kind of stuff, and camera and video. And so anyone can go and create.
Yeah. Do you think there's a move back to like high production value content though? Because now, you know, everyone in the world now has a camera they can use.
Yeah.
Yet, like something like this is still quite highly produced, and it does really well because of that. Because if you guys were just shooting on an iPhone, I don't think it would.
I think yes. I think people like the rawness, but I think you know, the fact that ETN and this format is raw, but then it's also high grade in terms of like the professionalism, right? So it's like it kind of balances. It's finding that balance and knowing when and how to like use that. I don't know. I'm curious. Like, what do you think? Like, when you're looking at an influencer, Are companies wanting more kind of like professional kind of influencers? They're looking for like more like lifestyle-y type. Like what's
almost every company puts them into like 3 tranches. You have your celebrities, you then have your tastemakers, and then you have your like micro-influencers. Your tastemakers.
What's a tastemaker?
So a tastemaker is someone who maybe doesn't have a huge audience, maybe 100,000, a couple 100,000, but they're speaking to like something very specific. So we work with a lot of supplement brands and companies like this. So they'll have a good company that we don't work with, but they do it incredibly well. It's a company called H and Brave. Seeing them tomorrow, so hopefully H and Brave, shout out.
We will work with them.
We will work with hopefully you guys. But they do it incredibly well, right? So what they have is they have their like big macro creators. They've got like Davina McCall. They sell women's supplements, so they have like their huge celebrities. Then they have their tastemakers. So it's like the local nurse, still with like a big following, and then they have their micro creators as well, like the really small ones. And I think you can basically break that down with like any company into those 3 different tranches, and it almost gets like more produced as you go further up. So like the celebrities have like highly produced, production, proper sets, and then the middle ones a little bit less, and then the micro ones basically just.
So what do you think for startups? Like, what do you think that the meta is today? Like pre-seed, I'm launching. I've just raised my X amount of millions. What's the meta to launch that, do you think, today? Because I feel like it keeps changing.
If you're a software company?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, I think you've got to have UGC farm. So we've spoken about this before, I know.
We tried that.
CPMs are crazy.
It's tough for software, though.
It's super tough. It depends what kind of software product you are.
Well, if you're doing like consumer software, it's a lot easier.
Oh, yeah. If you're like pure B2B SaaS selling big enterprise contracts, no point. Waste time, you're wasting money. But if you're PLG, definitely the right thing to do.
Agree.
And then a strong creator-led growth motion, which is not UGC, like these actual creators. You're going to pay them more. You then whitelist their assets. Yeah. So then you're putting paid spend behind it. And then companies like who've done this incredibly well, like Fixer, 11 Labs are doing it well, Granola, and then they're working with much bigger creators as well, who are like the tastemakers in their space, like the Greg Eisenbergs of the world. And they're the people who have the authority, not necessarily like massive reach.
And what do you think about it coming from the founder and the leadership team themselves? Like you think about a company like Lovable, where a lot of their employees, they're almost like. It's been like gamified within the company to go viral.
We do that as well. So we give a £50 meal voucher out at the end of every Friday.
We should do
to whoever gets the most impressions that week.
What, across the board? Or
across the board. Yeah, it worked. I mean, just the Tano team.
Who wins?
Surely you're winning all the time.
No. me and my co-founder don't get the vouchers. Otherwise, I feel like there's maybe some like tax implications of that. But yeah, the team get them, and it works. So like the thing about posting content, I don't know if you guys felt this in the early days of ECM, but there's like this like cringe barrier you've got to get over,
for sure.
And then you just like don't care, and then you've got to like push people to get over it, and then once they do, the employees are happy.
I tell you, told me the best thing.
And they're happy to just press send.
The best lesson I learned was like Chris Tottenham at Notion. Like I remember seeing like Chris exited his business for like hundreds of millions like many years ago. Now founder of Notion Capital. I think they managed like between 1 and 2 billion AUM.
Wow.
And like I remember, like Chris is like obviously an incredibly intelligent individual. He's incredibly charismatic. He's so funny. He's like we're very lucky to have him as a mentor and an advisor. But sometimes he'll ping me like a LinkedIn post, and it'll be like this crazy like here are my top 10 tips for like how to open call. And I'm like Chris, like what? But he's like LinkedIn is a tool that I can use to generate new business. And it's like maybe that it's not him behind there. He's got maybe someone plugged in to do that. But like. Getting those reps in and kind of crushing that.
Shout out Zaro.
Shout out to Zaro. Coming on later.
Great.
Launch today.
We're very pumped to have him on. But I think that's true. So kind of going back to what you first said, like meta right now, because I think that you asked like high production stuff, does it work? I think that we entered a time in which that if you were launching, all you had to do was just make it high production. So that could literally be founder sat in front of the camera like we are now and just talk to the camera.
It still works to an element, right? Like a good bit of copy, founder, with a strong mission, talking in front of the camera, like very.
I think that gets you so far, though.
Yeah.
I think if you look at a lot of tech companies, like Lovable did this. I don't know the precise number they got to, like basically by Anton's distribution, but it was probably 10 million, 20 million, 30 million. But then after that, they'd kind of done the X tech bubble. They then need to expand out of that.
Sure.
And then like, how do you reach? My mum in her 60s uses Lovable now to design her website for being a garden designer. She did not use Lovable because she saw Anton tweet about hitting 50 million ARR. That's not how she got onto it.
How did she find it? On Instagram?
They crush Instagram.
No, so now they do Instagram, but now they're doing it like a use case specific level. So this is what we try and get our customers to do as well. So like a customer of ours like Granola, the CPMs in the AI space are so high. $500, like $1,000 CPMs. It's crazy.
Really?
It's
Wow.
like it's too high. But then you got to think that most granola users, or most of the ones they want, are not, to be honest, people like you and me who sit on Twitter probably far too much of their day.
Yeah.
It's the HR person who's never been on Twitter and doesn't follow that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's your teacher who you want to use granola. It's like, how do you get in front of them?
And that's
a
what you're
completely
paying
different
for.
strategy. Yeah, and that's like use case specific stuff. And that's when you use creators to get into those specific verticals, because you can't, I think you can get only so far with the X side of things.
So you're saying you should then find these super high verticalized niche creators just to access that additional market or whatever.
Exactly. You've just got to broaden your channels and go to where your next user is and find incrementality. The biggest challenge with most brands right now is getting incrementality, especially brands that have been around a while, and finding their next user and their next customer, and doing that with the same marketing channels and the same media channels that you've been doing to get you to where you are now. It's just not going to work.
And so then
it's also so competitive.
How are these large companies thinking about they're going deeper and deeper into their ICP? So it's yes, you're getting more brand awareness.
And expanding their ICP as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're building your awareness, but you're going deeper and deeper into each kind of ICP vertical, right?
Yeah.
How do they think about the incrementality? What is the kind of the thing that they're okay, we need to go down that route to go and hit the HR woman or whatever it is.
Yeah, so what we've seen when we've worked with these hyper-growth software companies, and we've worked with quite a few now, is that to begin with, they do have basically a singular ICP, but then you have to expand that, and then there's good questions how do you then go and find those people? How do you find the HR worker? How do you find, we work with a very, very fast, I don't know if I can say their name, that's why I'm stumbling, a very, very fast-growing email assistant from the UK right now.
Okay, nice.
I wonder who that is. And theirs are real estate sales, these much niche domains. How do you get in front of a real estate broker or a realtor, to say in the US? It's not going to be via Twitter, probably. It's going to be via these other channels.
That's interesting. Well, and that's I guess because there are areas in which these people want to adopt tech, and they probably should adopt tech, but there's probably some asymmetry there in terms of how in the know they are.
Yeah, exactly.
The realm,
exactly.
Right?
Everyone's got a different media diet. A lot of people watch ETN, but a lot of people don't. And a lot of people read the newspaper, a lot of people don't. It's how do you then go and find those new the new people and their new media types?
There's so many impressions floating around. That's the thing. It's
there's an unlimited amount.
Yeah, unlimited.
And marketing's all about arbitrage, right? It's something works right now and then it doesn't. Facebook ads worked for 5 years and everyone was killing it, and then they kind of rolled off a bit. Now Instagram ads are still crushing. CPMs are coming down, but now it's TikTok Shop's the next thing. It's that window where you've got arbitrage is something you've got to take advantage of. And the companies that do really well, the ones that are early to that game and they can ride the wave until it becomes commoditized, and then you've got to find the next window of arbitrage.
What's conversations that you're having right now with customers, with people that you're outbounding, the pains, what are they really trying to do? What's the biggest challenge on that? It's for consumer companies, it's CAC is a massive problem. So what they're paying to makeup brands and supplement brands, they're basically all of them have been built on Meta. Most companies we speak to in the consumer space, D2C brands that you would know, I would say honestly they're 80%, 90% reliant on Meta.
I'm not surprised, right?
Which is so dangerous for a company, because if you have iOS 14, I don't know if you remember this back in I forget the year now, but in the 2010s when Apple cracked down on privacy and Meta basically stopped working overnight, and your company that does $50 million a year is 90% reliant on Meta. What do you do? Your growth probably halves overnight, maybe more. So it's you need to find diversified channels, and you need to find areas where you can continue to reach new customers all the time. Meta is getting unbelievably good now. I don't know if you saw, but someone asked Jensen Huang the other day, the best adopter of AI, and you would think it's Google, OpenAI, Anthropic. He was no, Meta, because they've spent hundreds of billions on new compute clusters, and they just pour it into the algorithm, which unlike other companies, prints them hundreds of billions of dollars a year in revenue. It's crazy.
I mean, when their numbers came out, right, it was their stock just absolutely tanked because of the amount of money they're just throwing down into pure output into.
But I think it's worth it for them. It's there's direct ROI, because if they can make ads 10% better, they make another whatever, it's $40 billion a year.
The number one distribution engine in the world. All they have to do is be able to convert a few people into using their products.
That's why I just always thought how do you even compete with Google on the AI race, in the sense that they just have an infinite money machine, and they have the baked into basically every single company in the world anyway, right?
I mean, I want to know what you guys think, but it's still an open question. I think when you've raised money, the question always comes like, what if Google do this? What if Meta do this? Especially for us, it's like, what if Meta do this? What if they build their own agents for influencer? And there is that kind of like that. Is it called incumbent dilemma? What's the expression? Innovator's dilemma. Yeah, innovator's dilemma they have across a bunch of different use cases. But Anthropic crushing it.
I always found that before, and I'm still incredibly naive, but when I was even more naive back in the day, I always used to think that's such a valid question to ask from a VC, or what if, and it's not anymore what if Google do this, it's what if OpenAI do this, or what if Anthropic do this, right? It's kind of shift a little bit. But I think we've come into a time now where if your product is actually good and it can either help them get closer to AGI or increase the top line and give them any comparative advantage. I guess any comparative advantage attached to getting closer to AGI, I think it's become a positive. It's more now what if they buy you? Because they don't have the time to try and you know what I mean? No one's going to try.
But I think that's a good point, right? They don't have the time. If you look at the things OpenAI's sunset of the last year, the big example is Sora, right? They spent maybe tens of billions of dollars trying to get that to work.
A lot of cash.
Yeah,
a lot
of cash.
They sunset in the tens of products.
Yeah, and I think sure you can have a company that could theoretically do anything, but even someone of that scale and that enormous distribution already has, they still have to focus.
Yeah.
And if you're going to go compete with Meta selling ads on social media, you're going to lose, obviously. But there's so many other things. I won't shut up, but the fastest growing company that goes under every radar of everyone in London, probably no one knows who it is. I think they've hit 20 million this year. Software company started last year, completely bootstrapped. They've basically built an extension to Meta ads.
No way.
Yeah. And they go raise a massive round, but they don't. And this is what I mean.
They don't need to.
Yeah, but they don't need to.
They found
right?
a niche. And that's
they've raised through customers. It's the best way to do it. And I guess my point there is, for however well something like Meta works for ads, there's always little crumbs coming off the side, and these crumbs can be very, very large businesses. Look at the number of Shopify apps that have been built.
Yeah,
there's hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue there just from doing things that Shopify don't really want to do.
Well, I've seen now that there are billboards. I can't remember where I saw it, but there was a billboard. It was a photo of a billboard in SF on X, but it was around people are now building out. People are raising money to build companies around building on top of
Really?
Claude. Drop it.
It makes sense, right? Will there be there was a Apple App Store. Will there be a Claude App Store?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I feel like they've already created little inklings, right? It's
Do you think?
If you need someone who's not kind of really tech native, wanting to use your app, right? You broaden your ICP already, right?
Yeah.
You've got a stay-at-home mum now who wants to go and build on Claude. If the thing that's stopping them from doing that is, I don't know what to build. It's just having those prompts of hey, this is an app that's 80% there. Go and build on top of that, right? It's you kind of
that's
keep
the concern,
reinforcing
right?
things.
I think as you were saying, Ronan, it used to be a very common question, and probably still is with VCs, to be what if Google does this?
Yeah.
Maybe that's more relevant than it was 10 years ago. Because 10 years ago, the reason they didn't want to do it is they didn't want to put the time into it and invest in actually understanding the problem. There might be an argument now that they don't need to do that because they just spin up 1,000 agents. I saw an interview with the head of Claude Code at Anthropic the other day saying it was ridiculous. He has 1,000 agents running in parallel, and they all reviewing each other's code, and he basically doesn't do anything anymore. He was like, I don't even write a to-do list. And I was like, why are you here? Yeah, why are you even here then? Why are any of us here?
Go sit on a beach.
I think he's I think he's taking a little bit, maybe a little bit far.
I think some of them stretch it a little bit with I mean, it sounds great. It's wow, that's so powerful. I need to go and I need to spend money on that thing. But I think that a lot of when we look at the token consumption comparatively to what some startups are doing, I remember seeing something. I think it was the highest consumer of tokens at Anthropic was their CFO.
Really?
And they were doing $1 billion a month, something insane, something absolutely nuts.
Question: is their output genuinely better than it was on Excel?
So I don't know. Obviously,
are they now more profitable because of it?
Yeah. Is token maxing an actual?
I've got a question for you guys.
What's the ROI?
This really? SaaS apocalypse idea is companies are just going to build their own software instead of buying it.
Yeah.
You guys are a media company first, not a software company first. Is your initial thought when you need something, whether that's accounting software or I don't even know, some kind of productivity tool, do you want to build it or are you going to buy it?
So I think Luke would probably say he wants to build it. I would say I want to buy it.
Yeah. And looking objectively, which one do you think is actually the better decision?
I think we'd end up buying it and building on top of it.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, shout out to Zara, right? I've been building on Zara for the past few days. It's great.
Yeah.
And so we're building our own, because we're a pretty simple business, right? In terms of, we don't have like a ton of customers that we have to go and deal with. It's maybe like, max kind of 20.
Yeah.
And then you have a CRM of not like in the tens, not hundreds or thousands. So there isn't like a whole load of data compared to like an enterprise company or like even like a standard pre-seed kind of like AI startup, right? It's like this is a very different company. So I think like us being able to build.
But I think this is good. It's a good parallel because like a lot of companies, probably most companies in the world, are like this. They're not.
Well, I asked Zara like, you guys, like, are you guys building your company on Zara? They're like, like everything is there, like all of it. Like think about like a cash flow. Cash flow models, all of it is on Zara for that.
Wow.
It's really interesting.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm just like not as like technically proficient as I should be, especially in the age that we're in. But I do feel like part of me is like, if I need something, and maybe I'm showing like my naivety here or lack of understanding as to like how good things actually are on the ground level, but like if I need something, I'm quite happy to like get, and we have the money to pay for it, I'm quite happy to go and give the money to the expert who spent the last 10 years building this domain.
Yeah. It's like a Naval, is it Naval who says that? It's like, if there's an expert to go and do it, pay them to do it instead of you learning how and spending a valuable amount of time.
Exactly how I think about it. Yeah. I completely agree. Because
there's a balance.
Because it is a little bit scary starting a software business and then, $500 billion is wiped off the stock market because now software has no value. But then when I really think about what I spend money on, like, am I going to make my own zero? I'm probably not.
Yeah.
Like even things like HubSpot, that they're just a CRUD database at the end of the day. Like I still don't want to build that. I prefer just to MCP it into Claude. And I think about that with basically everything. I don't really want to spend the time to save myself like $50 a month.
Also, you don't want to be the one that's liable, right? Like there was an old saying back when we were selling Pigment. I think it comes from like an older saying. It was like you never got fired for buying like Oracle or
NetSuite.
IBM or NetSuite.
Yeah.
I think every vertical has their own. So with that regard, like if that was the case, then like you don't want to. You weren't willing to take the risk to buy a startup's technology, who is still probably pretty good, and they spent loads of years building that startup. Like, why would you then be the one? Like, why would you want to be the person that has vibe coded?
I completely agree.
Like, your security software. Not that you'd ever do that. Although it's probably like it's quite hyperbolic, but like. There's a defensibility where like who can you blame if it goes wrong?
It's so true. Yeah.
If I'm in a big organization,
and also the trust as well. Like I trust the fact that they've spent X amount of millions and X amount of like time doing this. Therefore, I should put my trust in them instead of me like spending my Saturday vibe coding it for a little bit.
I completely agree. I think it's like a normal distribution curve. I think at the one end you have things that are so they don't really matter. For us, our LinkedIn tracker where we like judge people LinkedIn. Like I don't need to go buy a tool for that. We just build it in like 20 minutes because it's like zero significance. And then maybe the whole other end you have software that's like so exorbitantly expensive it actually makes a material change to the company if we have to go and buy it. And then maybe you build those. But like everything in the middle.
But I think it's good. Like I think it's just like a natural evolution of like you cut out the middle. Like that's it. So you either have a super like easy kind of like no nonsense app that does a very menial task, or agent that does a very menial task, or you have fairly expensive but very very high ROI in terms of like I run my whole business on whatever it is, this FP&A or what like software or whatever it is. So it's like everything else in the middle is just like stripped out and you don't need that. So
I completely agree.
Great.
Yeah.
Either be the best or like be able to be the place that people can go and build the thing that you want to go and build. That's just a quick kind of 20-minute vibe code.
For sure.
We are slightly over.
No, sorry. I'm
sorry. When are you speaking?
Are you talking today or not?
Yeah, I've got 2 talks today actually. One here, one elsewhere.
Okay, we'll have to find you when you do it, mate.
Sweet.
Always a pleasure, bro. Good to see you again.
Good to see you.
Have a good mate.
Yeah.
Nice one.
Right.
Okay, we'll be welcoming our next guest on. We have Duncan coming on next. Oh, we've got a little fun. Is that a cherry thing there?
Yeah, we should. Let's put it here.
Nice.
Put it here.
Hey, how you doing, man?
Do you want to come around? Just, can we put it here? Is that
whatever looks good. Hey. Good to meet you. Roman.
Is that in the shop?
How you doing?
Good, thanks.
Hey,
Luke,
how's
my
it going?
co-founder.
Hey, Duncan.
If we can put you here, that would be great. We just moved that back.
We're live now.
Yeah, we're live on the show.
already live.
It runs for 3 hours. That's the beauty of the show. But do you want to maybe introduce yourself to the viewers at home, to the listeners, and then we can get into it. Got a bunch of questions.
Of course. So, hi everyone. I'm Duncan Barrigan. I am founder and CEO of Lunos. We are a agent-to-agent network for B2B payments.
Okay, let's talk into the founding story. Why Lunos? Why you? How's the journey been so far?
Yeah, for me, it's very much, I suppose it's a revenge on the same problem that I've been working on for a long time. So I am a career fintech guy, have spent basically all my career in fintech and more than 10 years helping businesses to get paid, which is obviously a niche specialty in many regards. So I used to be Chief Product Officer, Chief Growth Officer at GoCardless, where we were pulling money from people's bank accounts when it was due. Mm-hmm. And when I left, I had a bit of an epiphany. So it's kind of an epiphany business. You know, some people kind
Those
of
are the best.
worked it. No, I was just sat on the sofa one day and the idea occurred to me. So yeah, in essence, it's, for those that don't know, B2B payments is a mess. Mm-hmm. There's $100 trillion a year of it. And you might think it works like a consumer, you know, you just press click, you buy, but no, it's a mess of millions of people around the world exchanging emails, PDFs, spreadsheets, missing contact details, wrong invoices. It's a total mess. And my epiphany was that it's been that way for 6,000 years. It's still done by humans today. And it's because it's a communication and negotiation problem, not a payments problem, which is where suddenly the idea in the same flash was, kind of interesting new communication technology right now. How about we build agents to do the job the way that humans always have?
Okay,
nice. I was going to ask you about the fact that it was a communication problem and not like a payments problem. Can you let's like go deeper on that, right? Like, why is it a communication problem? Why is it still humans to humans? You know, explain the thesis and then how you guys are like actually kind of solving that communication problem.
Yeah, I think at its heart, it's because you're talking about trade that's going on where the settling of the payments between people is quite divorced from the work.
Okay.
So, you know, when you walk into a shop, you pay, you walk out, you tap your card, off you go. Yeah. Businesses don't really work that way, right? They just kind of start trading and they sign contracts and things, but then the payment has to be sorted out afterwards. So it's all post-payment, 100%. Almost all the time. And there's so much trust involved in how that works.
Agree.
That then what happens is that eventually someone has to bill each other, right? And then the two sides, so you've got, for those that don't know, you've got receivables and payables, and you've got billions of people around the world that do these jobs part-time or full-time. And what has to happen is everyone has to agree, first of all, on whether the amounts are correct. Second of all, there's kind of a negotiation about when you pay, which again sounds odd to the consumer, but everyone doesn't pay on the due date, you know? That's what I used to be like, oh, well, let's just pull the money on the due date from everyone, but that's not how the world works. I think one way of putting it in a nutshell is I remember talking to a CFO early on who was describing, public company CFO, medical devices, who said, well, so I've got 10 people in payables, and I tell them to pay the suppliers as soon as they can, the government on exactly the due date, and the lawyers only when they've personally chased me, and I tell the team to pay them. Nice. Which I think sums up a little bit of like how this works. This is not what you think from the outside.
This is run purely on that mental model. That's so funny.
That's interesting. You say that, and it's like there seems to be like some sort of like unspoken social contracts in a way where it's like no one really knows when to send the money, but it's like usually, I guess, like signed contracts. Maybe the person that you sent the person who sent the contract will expect, okay, contract signed, money sent. But it's always like, okay, we signed, that's bought us like 3 days. You know, that's always how I don't know. People
and it's just this multi-stage negotiation. What were the terms in the contract in the first place? Mm-hmm. When does the company actually raise the invoice? Mm-hmm. When does it get sent? When does it reach the right person? Was it uploaded into your 1990 system that you require your vendors to put the system in? If not, the invoice wasn't there. Oh, sorry, the clock has to start again. It'll be another 30 days from now. You know, like it's just way more. We call it the Wild West because that's the sentiment that people working in it actually have. It sounds like it's simple, and instead you have these like 57 thread message threads about a single invoice. That's kind of how the world
where's
really
the
works.
numbers, like where are the actual real insights. Okay, well, let's talk about judgment, right? Like the agents or the how agents have evolved have allowed them to have judgment, and they're able to understand, read an email and be like, okay, this might be important, but this is a little bit more important than that email or whatever it is, right? Talk to us about the importance of the agents having judgment and why, humans were able to do that and now agents can do that too, and then what that means for the future of kind of this, whole world, right?
Yeah, super interesting question. So the two things the humans need is they need access to all the right data, and then they need the judgment and the flexibility, as you say. So fundamentally, they're kind of two quite different problems in some regards, because we have to make sure we can gather the data from all sorts of places. And it's not, you couldn't do this yourself with just, here's the amount, here's the customer's name and email address, right? Because what if they've communicated back and forth and are in the middle of a dispute about this? What if in the CRM it says, oh, we're actually negotiating a new deal with them, so maybe we should be a little more friendly at this point. There's so
not just here's
what
the
if
invoice.
A payment's just landed? So there's so much context to it, and that feeds into the judgment, right? Because you can't get the judgment right unless you've got all of the information tied carefully together, and that's not a problem that should be exclusively in the hands of AI, right? There's a lot of traditional data pipeline building that goes into it. But then when you get, so it's kind of the bit below the ice, below the waterline of the iceberg, the judgment on top, I think the really tricky bits are how multiplayer and how mad it is. Like each building block is maybe quite simple. Someone emails and says, oh, I'll pay on Wednesday. You say, thank you very much, and then you don't contact them until Wednesday when the payment's through. You're fine. Like each building block sounds simple. But the tricky parts about the judgment are the way that it actually works in practice, which is, well, you've been communicating back and forth with the people on your team, the account managers about it, and then an email crosses and comes from the customer about the same thing at the same time. How do you respond to that? Your colleagues already handled that one. How do you do it? So the judgments, a lot of them come into, it's not as simple as like, well, that one's next Wednesday rather than next month. I say yes. It's actually much more of a team sport where it's two-way. Even two-way comms kind of undersells it, 'cause it's actually more like 3, 4, 5-way comms, because there's so many different people in it. So that's the kind of, it's flexibility as much as judgment, and the judgment isn't just like, what do you say in response to them? It's, should you say anything at all, and do I need to update the records when my colleague says, replies to them saying, we'll look into that for you. I need to update my records too, or they're all wrong. So it's the flexibility and the judgment together, I think, but it's basically a team sport.
As an area in which like agents reach and start working within, like you mentioned trust earlier, anything that's connected to like financial adjacent operations is always, there's sensitive information flowing. If these agents are maybe handling transactions specifically, there's like not caution around it, but it's one of the frontiers that would be sort of like last to be fully automated end-to-end in a sense, whether it's like maybe medical, like financial. Bringing agents into this is a great thing, and I think that maybe it's an area in which people would be more cautious around compared to maybe design or like automating my emails or something like that. Is there like how do you see that evolving in the future? Do you think this is something that everyone will just be like, this is like, I'm going to stand back and just let the agents sort out all the payments, or
Yeah, I think of it as something, it's actually a little bit like driverless cars, in the sense of people originally thought that we'd end up just with this, there'd be these separate driverless car highways, and immediately people would get in the, whatever, the car from Blade Runner, and whereas actually you need to be able to cope and collaborate with the humans as you go, right? So the way I see it going, and the way we've built it, is that it is a co-worker, not a co-pilot. But you have a dial that lets you determine how much autonomy it's got. Because that way you don't have this scary moment of like, oh my God, suddenly I'm going to flip this on and off this thing's going to go. But equally, you're not trapped in this world where it's your problem rather than its problem. Because AR and AP in particular, it really needs to be its problem. That's kind of the whole point. I think it needs to be able to communicate with humans at all times. That's one way in which it can actually be operating fully autonomously and yet with humans in the loop, right? Because if what it does is it decides to email you and then wait for you to come back, then which is that anymore? It kind of blurs the lines, right? But I think you need that autonomy as a dial, not as a switch, so that you can, like you would a new hire, right? You can gradually tell them things that you are and aren't happy for it to do. But I think it really does come down to being able to work with humans first, so that you don't have to throw it. It doesn't need the self-driving car highway to be built. It can drive on a public road with the humans, and you can just gradually let it do more and
sort
more.
of slowly eased into the
Very interesting.
ecosystem.
I think we're out of time, but thank you very much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Not at
It was
all.
great to meet you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank
you, sir.
Really good to meet you.
Anytime. Have a good one. Enjoy the rest of the event. Cheers.
Next on the show, we have Carl's Rayner coming on, but let's go.
Adjusting my mic.
On you come, sir.
We ready for Mr. Rayner?
Polymarket, the world's largest prediction market. Stay informed and profit from knowledge. Go to polymarket.com. Is that not good? Does that not look good?
Hello, sir.
It's too big.
It's good to finally get this done.
Man, it's so good to meet you. Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
It's hilarious.
No, welcome.
We've had
welcome
some
to
like
TCM.
online chats before, but then never actually made this happen. So yeah, very happy.
Like fantastic venue.
It's pretty cool, right?
You guys look sharp.
Man, you're looking
What was
sharp
my
too. You're
memo?
looking sharp.
We'll have to send you a tie in the mail or something next time.
Yeah.
It's so good to have you on. So I'm doing some mic adjustments, just checking. I'm worried that might fall. I'm not.
No,
I'm
it'll be
sure.
fine,
Okay? For those listening, do you want to introduce yourself, what you're focusing on at the moment? I mean, we obviously know who you are, but maybe the viewers at home.
100%. I'm Carles. I lead the go-to-market site at 11 Labs. And then I've been with the company since day one, or day zero if you want.
Yeah.
And I also have my own fund, so a fund called Bajwa Ventures where we do pre-seed and seed deals. So
Amazing. Okay, first question off the bat. We've got someone who's been in 11 Labs at ground zero all the way to the meteoric rise that they're doing today. From a GTM perspective, like, I can't even remember the last numbers I saw, but I know that you guys are probably crushing it more than any European application layer startup right now, like to an insane degree. But can you maybe give us...
I'm on like the frontier
And on the model
research
layer as
side
well. Yeah. Sorry, that's important to include that.
Yeah.
Can you just maybe paint a picture of like those early days to now, like, and what was going on at ground zero, and like, did you even think what would happen today is a reality? Like,
I mean, I think it was a dream for all of us to actually be able to actually be where we are today. Like, we passed $500 million. We announced it earlier in May. But like the story is like fundamentally we went from 0 to $100 million in revenues in 20 months, 100 to 200 in another 10 months, 200 to 330 in another 5 months. And then between end of the year and May, we ended up getting another like 160 million or something like that. So like the growth is accelerating, which essentially means like you need to rethink pretty much everything that you're doing, from the structure of the teams all the way to like the type of roles, the type of needs that you have, how you approach customers, how you segment customers. All of that stuff needs to actually be redefined. And we've always approached it from a way of actually doing a lot of experimentation. Like, at heart, we're a PLG company. Like, we started with the core research, like individual users signing up, self-service, all of that stuff, and then we build the enterprise motion that is 50% of the revenues or more these days. It was like, let's try a lot of different things. We don't know what we don't know. We don't know what's actually going to work out and what's not going to work out. What's a good idea and what's a really bad idea. So let's run a bunch of like experiments in parallel, and then out of those ones, I just need one of them to actually give us another $100 million in revenues.
Yeah.
So like you end up doing it and repeating that motion, and that's essentially what took us like here.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Can you talk to us about momentum? Because like, pre-seed companies can now land enterprise customers within like 60 days, having raised their pre-seed funding or whatever it is, right? Like, talk to us about like the shift of enterprise adopting kind of like early stage startups into their workflows and all of that kind of stuff, but then also building momentum and going out to go and find all of those customers. Like, is it like the PLG sales? Like, do pre-seed startups need to go and focus on that? Like, what is that momentum side of it?
I think it's a combination. For us, what it works is, I think like there is not a single playbook that will work for all of the companies.
Of course.
And when I'm hiring someone and like that person constantly tells me like, oh, I have my own playbook that worked really well, I'm like, it's just not gonna work out here, right? It's just not a fit for the company. But it's fundamental because like I do believe that like in each one of the markets, in each one of the segments, the type of product you're building, you will end up having to find your own way.
Sure.
For us, the PLG motion was a really good way into actually getting to enterprise. And that enterprise started ballooning where we're doing a lot of inbounds, generating a lot of leads. Then we migrated last year towards being an outbound organization.
Yeah.
And then these days, 50% of the revenues come from the enterprise side, and then also 50% of the revenues are outbound led, right? Mm-hmm. So like you build the momentum by actually tapping into like new opportunities, new markets, new segments, and then doing it much more on the outbound side. For us, like it's critical because like if we cannot control the leads that we get, we don't even know what revenues we're going to generate next month, the next quarter, and by the end of the year. Yeah. So like it was important from a culture perspective and also like go to market to actually be the owners of that growth and migrate from a pure like mostly inbound to outbound organization. Yeah. And also launching new markets. I think what we saw like 3 years ago is like if you wanted to build a successful company, you had to fundamentally like do it one market at a time. And then VCs will tell you like, do one market, do it really well, become the dominant player in there, and then like go to another market and then keep doing it. And when I was actually designing go-to-market for 11 Labs three plus years ago, I was like, this is not going to work. The market has fundamentally changed. Like, you need to be able to tackle multiple markets at the same time, which means that you're going to be super stretched in resources. But if you don't do it, you're going to be dead.
Yeah.
And we're seeing this, like this is the right motion today for all of the companies. Like you're building a global company from day one, unless you're doing something that is very specific to one single market or very specific to a set of companies that are heavily regulated, right? Then that's a completely different motion.
Yeah. What were connected to that? Like you guys did something incredibly difficult, which was, I guess, like dominate consumer and then switch to B2C first and then into B2B, which is like historically very hard. Connected to what you say, like the model has changed, the workflows have changed, like the old rule book doesn't work anymore. What was the decision internally? Like, how did you guys prepare from going like, okay, we're a B2C company, like shifting that entire motion to enterprise? Like, was there like a rule book you had in mind, or like was there anyone that or was it just completely new? Like, what?
It was like, I think like, so fundamentally like it's a cultural change that you end up going through as a company, right? No one wants to build like the unsexy features of an enterprise product.
Yeah.
No one wants to build the SSOs. No one wants to build the user management. No one wants to actually like go through like certifications. No one wants to do that. Like everyone wants to build like fancy, really cool features.
Consumer,
that like, exactly. That's for the consumer.
I want to be on the consumer team, to be honest.
Exactly, right? So like literally it's like, how do you process, how do you go through that transition with your entire team to make sure that like you're building for the long term, right? And it was a challenging element for us because like even though fundamentally we wanted to actually target the enterprise segment, the consumer side was generating so much, or the prosumer side was generating so much pull, like the majority of people were focused on that prosumer segment, right? And then over time, I think like you end up like showing that like there is ROI, there is the valuation that's sustained, there's like the engagement that you get from enterprises, there is the value, like there is all of those different components that you end up getting that end up convincing people that actually enterprise is a good path. It was not easy, don't get me wrong. A lot of friction. Not easy at all.
And no rule book, which is understandable, right?
But like you guys are crushed. I can't remember. We reported on it. I can't remember what we saw, but something dropped. I think Matty tweeted out like something around like the size of the ACVs for some of these enterprise contracts. Like you guys were doing.
It was like within a week, you like added like another like some crazy number.
It was like you did one deal that added like, I don't know, 5 million ARR or something nuts. I can't remember.
We've had some very large deals, like even bigger than that. But like, you know, like it's part of like the motion of going up market, right? Yeah. It's like, I think like you end up like partnering with companies, showing the ROI, showing the results, and then like we transition with like we have like a land and expand model. Like it doesn't really matter whether you're spending like $20,000 or like $1 million a month or like $1,000 a month. Like we want to actually help you deliver return, like deliver like something that is actually useful for you and your employees and your customers.
Yeah.
If that means that like hopefully we will get into $1 million contract, happy days for everyone. If it doesn't, that's still okay. Like don't get me wrong. Like I mean, I love deals, right? So
I love $1 million.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
But like Q1 this year, we had the first $100 million quarter, where in a single quarter we added over $100 million in revenues. It's like pretty nice.
Like, can we call these guys startups anymore?
I don't know,
surely they're the threshold that we've
like
crossed.
Seriously frontier now.
That's insane.
Yeah.
I'd love to know like early days, like any stories from the early days in terms of like the GTM motion.
We're gonna have to make this the last question as well.
Okay, last question. About how were you guys finding customers back then? Like, what were you guys doing? Anything? Because I imagine it was a lot more scrappy back then than it is now. It's probably a well-oiled
super
machine.
Scrappy, like no CRM, like running everything in like in an Excel file, Google Sheets. Like I was doing like 80 calls a week. Like I would test a lot of stuff around like, okay, what if I do a call and in the middle of it, like I send the contract and I send the proposals and I send everything. What if I wait?
In the
like,
call?
Yeah, like so like literally like there was a lot of this because like you can imagine like it was back to back, right? So like literally like I found out that like if I actually shorten the calls and do it 25 minutes and then use the last 5 minutes to send them a recap, we didn't have granola back in the day, right? So like I would do like the recap.
Remember it all.
Exactly. I was like typing. I'm like Google one of those guys that type a lot when I'm talking to people. So I would be typing and then sending the summary in the last 5 minutes, and then I would test like, should I send the contract now? Should I wait for a few days? Should I activate the trials? There was a lot of
just
experimentation.
Yeah, I love it.
And then we ended up finding the right momentum, like the right way of actually building and doing it so that like in each one of the markets would operate in a very natural way.
Amazing.
But it was extremely manual. It was not sexy at all. And I think that was the fun of it, right?
Yeah.
If you have everything like that is like very easy and automated, it's like it kind of
boring.
removes. Yes.
Yeah.
Like startups,
There's
we're
no
here
flair.
to do. Yeah, but we're here to do the difficult things.
Agree.
They're not that easy,
Yeah.
right? Let's do those things.
Yeah. I love
So
it, man.
cool.
What a chat. Thank you so much. I appreciate
so
it.
much.
So good to finally do this.
Yeah. So good.
Appreciate
finally.
your time.
See you soon.
So awesome. That was Carlos Reyna.
This is
everybody.
Mr. Here we go. We got Hermann coming on the show, I believe now.
Yes, we do.
Hey,
Welcome to
how's
the
it
show,
going?
sir. It's good to meet you.
Good to meet you. Good to see you.
If it's okay with you, we'd love to sit you here. I know it's a bit tight in here, isn't it?
It's fine.
Thank you, Hermann, for joining us. We've been looking forward to this. Maybe for the stream and the viewers at home, we just have this camera here. But would you be able to introduce yourself, your background, and what you're working on at the moment?
My name is Hermann Hauser. My background is I'm founder of Acorn Computers. We produced the Acorn Risk Machine ARM, which now powers your mobile phone. I'm with a venture capital company called Amadeus Capital Partners, and I'm also on the European Innovation Council board, which has just launched the Scale Up Europe Fund.
Okay,
It was a bit of a mouthful.
That's all like so much meat on the bone.
Yeah, we're always yapping, so it's fine. A bunch of questions to get into. I think the first one, if we could start on ARM, could you maybe walk us through like how things have changed? I mean, we were looking at the stock price recently, the craze that we're seeing at the moment across this whole semiconductor supply chain. Like, when you guys were building back then, could you foresee the future? Were you building something for this day to get to where we are today?
Of course, I knew it precisely what was going to happen.
Good answer.
But really, the truth was that we needed a more powerful, low-power processor for Acorn, for our BBC microcomputer. And Intel wasn't good enough for us, so we decided to do our own. And we didn't really expect this to become the standard microprocessor. In mobile phones, to the nearest 1%, we now have 100% market share. And it's becoming the standard in the data center as well. So we're also pushing Intel out of the data center for the same reason that low power in the data center is becoming increasingly important.
Yeah. Can you talk to us about that shift from the kind of mobile phone era to now the data center shift and I guess the demand that you guys are experiencing, I assume, from enterprise companies who need to, they need compute to be able to go and build their own AI and their own models. Can you talk to us about that kind of shift in demand and how you guys have navigated that?
Sure. So both the dominance that we managed to build up in the smartphone market and the attraction for the hyperscalers in the data center market have the same root reason, which is low power. Used to be very important in smartphones, now it's also important in the data center. Mm-hmm. But the other equally important is actually the unique business model that ARM has. So we are the world's most successful licensing company. So if you want to build your own processor, you pay a few percentage points for the license to you, go to TSMC and build your own microprocessor, which of course AWS, Google and Microsoft have done.
Yeah.
If you buy the processor that consumes more power but has the same performance from Intel, you pay, of course, Intel a 60% gross margin, which means if you go with ARM, you get the most expensive chip in the data center, basically half price. So lower power, half price. What's not to like?
That's a good
That's how you get 100% market share.
No wonder you guys have a monopoly.
Cool.
If you mentioned the EU, well, before we get into that, it's kind of connected to this next question, but a lot of what we're seeing today, the specifically around this theme, like AI and the geopolitical notations like connected to that, we're seeing conversations around tech sovereignty, specifically.
I'm writing a book on it.
And you're right, okay,
Hey,
well then,
no
what better of a man to interview about it? Could we get your thoughts on, we've covered it a bunch of times on the show, the FT are reporting it quite a lot at the moment.
I think it comes up pretty much every show that we do.
Yeah, basically. Like Europe's positioning.
That's why I think I've got a big market for the book.
we'll certainly be buying it. Could you, where are we positioned globally? Do you think that we are able to compete? Like, is it a threat for us? Have we missed the race already? Like, where do you think we're at right now?
Well, to address your last point about missing the race, one of the nice things about deep technology is there's always a new race. We lost social media to Facebook and search to Google, but quantum computing isn't settled yet.
Yeah.
The next generation of AI, when we're moving to world models, is not settled yet. Jan LeCun has just raised $1 billion, is moving to Europe to produce maybe the next generation AI company. So it's all up for grabs. The one thing that we need, of course, is scale-up money, and we've just launched the Scale Up Europe Fund 3 days ago in Brussels, which will fill that remaining hole, because in Europe, the output of our universities is comparable to American universities. We don't have a university problem. We produce more startups in Europe than in the US. We don't have a startup problem either. But out of the 12 unicorns that I've been involved in, every single one of them ended up in the US. So we do have a scale-up problem. We want to keep them in Europe.
Yeah, can you talk to us about the kind of us like under converting the scientific talent and the technical talent that we're able to produce in Europe? We have some of the most technical universities here. We have some of the most amazing startups here. But yeah, converting them into a commercial vehicle to bring funding and everything else that comes with the money side to Europe, right? Can you talk to us about about that kind of like under converting into like a commercial model that the US are so kind of good at?
Yes, there are still a few remaining problems that we need to solve. One is to put together these rounds that are hundreds of millions and occasionally billions to take the startups that we produce in Europe that have the potential of becoming global winners and make them global winners.
Yeah.
And this, of course, is the issue that we're addressing with the Scale Up Europe Fund. There is then also an issue of management talent, because one of the great advantages that Silicon Valley still has is if I want to grow a company from 50 or 100 million revenue to $1 billion revenue, I go to the guy at Apple or Meta or HP that's running a $1 billion division and say, hey, do you want to become CEO of that company?
Sure.
2 weeks later, if he likes it, he is in there helping that company. Just translate that into a European context. If you went to, I don't know, Rolls-Royce or Mercedes and tried to talk, or BMW, tried to talk to the guy who runs a $1 billion division there to even look at a startup, they might not look at it. Even if they did and they liked it, they're now locked up for another 6 months or 10 years because that's the notice period, as opposed to the 2-week notice period in the US. Now, Trump to the rescue, because one of the advantages that we now have is that many people in the US are now considering moving to Europe, helping European startups with that experience. One example is John West, who took a little Cambridge company called Solexa.
Yeah.
He ran a $1 billion division of ABI, which has a 90% market share of gene sequencing at the time. And we said, John, we have bad news and good news for you. The bad news is that we have a machine that we've developed in Cambridge, which is 100 times better than the one that you're selling. Therefore, we're going to blow you out of the water. The good news is we want you to do it. And he came, looked at it, said, yes, you're going to do it. And made Solexa into now Illumina, which is the company that now has a 90% market share of gene sequencing. So, it can be done, and it can be done from Europe, although it must be said that Illumina is a US company that bought the Cambridge company, so we sold too early. But we know that we can now attract US management talent to Europe.
It seems like a bunch of conversations that we have, it is always that the companies are maybe relocating to the US at growth stage, taking growth funding, and that's kind of when we lose them at that Series C inflection point. We were talking the other day about the fact that Demis was so adamant that he ensured that DeepMind remained headquartered in London, and we're now seeing a bunch of sort of smaller neo labs spin out. Maybe they've been working in product or research at DeepMind, and we've had a bunch of them on the show, but spinning out and setting up a bunch of neo labs in King's Cross. It's becoming a bit of a hub, the new sort of Silicon Valley of London. I mean, do you think that's like the flywheel of that effect, is that something that can drive change for local communities?
Absolutely, and this is exactly the history of Silicon Valley, and there's absolutely no reason why that history shouldn't be reproduced in London, around DeepMind, in Cambridge, around ARM, in Paris, in Berlin. I always say that Silicon Valley is still the top and will probably remain the top for a little while. But if Silicon Valley is up here, the UK is here, Europe is here, and my native Austria is down here. That gradient used to be very steep.
Yeah.
The order is still the same, but the gradient is a lot shallower. So Britain is not like Silicon Valley. Europe is snapping at Britain's heels.
Interesting.
And even Austria now has 3 unicorns. So if it can be done in Austria, it can be done anywhere.
Amazing. That's such a good way to put it.
We've got a few minutes left.
We have a few minutes left. I did want to touch on the kind of IPO market and your take or your opinion on the SpaceX IPO that's happening this week. Can you what do you think is it going to do?
So OpenAI filed as well, by the way.
Really?
They filed their S1.
What do you think
exciting.
An IPO of this scale is going to do to the market? This is.
Well, it's going to suck a lot of cash out of the market, of course. Short term, I think there is a cash problem, but this is one of the remaining European problems.
Yeah.
We do not have a European Nasdaq, and one of the sad aspects of ARM was that when ARM went back to the market, there was no European stock exchange that was big enough and liquid enough. ARM had to go to Nasdaq. We didn't even get a secondary listing in London, which we originally had. ARM was originally listed in London and in Nasdaq. I still haven't given up hope. I think we will be able to have a secondary listing in London sometime. But we need to get our act together because Europe actually has the money. This is not a money problem. We are rich.
And we've heard this before, It's not.
We are rich. It is an asset allocation problem and a unification problem. We just need a unified financial market in Europe.
Really cool.
That rings
question,
true every
if
time.
you can, we've got 4 minutes left. You run a successful venture fund. What is like the stuff that you're focused on day to day? What are the areas or industries that are exciting you the most? I know you mentioned world models earlier.
Yes, indeed. Well, Amadeus Capital Partners is one of the first deep tech funds in Europe, but we only do deep tech, and at the moment we're doing a lot of quantum computing, which is a completely new way of computing, which is both very much lower power, since power is such a key problem in data centers, and very much higher performance, like 1,000 or 1,000,000 times higher. So much so that you can crack certain problems like RSA 2048, the encryption standard with quantum computers, which you'll never be able to do with classical computers. And then there are, of course, AI. We made 20 investments in various AI companies in different domains, and synthetic biology. And so these are 3 main themes that we have at Amadeus Capital Partners.
Really cool. Final question, and then we can let you go. I'd love to ask if there's any sort of war stories from the founding days of ARM. Anything that's scrappy that maybe a founder out there who's building his first startup or in their scrappy days could learn from you. Any lessons that you have?
Yes. Well, the reason why we did the ARM is that Intel didn't want to change their design, especially for us. Now, I was the Steve Jobs of the UK at the time. I was very arrogant, and when
as
they
you
said,
should be if you are.
when they said they're not going to do it, and they said, get lost. I said, well, you get lost. We'll do our own. And then I gave 2 advantages to our design team that neither Intel nor AMD nor any of the other, fancy Silicon Valley companies managed to give to their design teams. And the first advantage I gave them was no people. So it's the only microprocessor in the world that was designed by 2 people rather than 50. Now they're 2 geniuses, but anyway, it was 2. And the second advantage was no money, because we didn't have any. So the only way they could do it was by keeping it really, really, really simple. A side effect, which was actually not a design requirement, a side effect was that because it was so small, it consumed very little power. So you wanted an anecdote. Well, the chip came back I, being the perennial optimist, bought 2 bottles of champagne. We put the chip in the circuit board and it didn't work. Of course it didn't work. The first chip never worked. But because they were 2 geniuses, they managed to get it going after 2 hours.
No way, wow.
It said, hello ARM, hello world, I'm an ARM. And then we thought, well, let's measure the power consumption. And the way you measured the power consumption is you took one of the pins, you bent it up, and then you connected and measured the current.
Yeah.
And as Steve bends up the pin, he realized it wasn't connected. So we thought, well, how can that be? Yeah. How can you have a chip working without the power pin being connected? So we thought this was a very good thing, but then we thought, there is physics. So how does this work?
How have we just done that?
How did we do that? And the answer was that there were lots of other pins that were connected, and just the leakage currents from those pins were enough to power up the whole chip and make it work. So we knew we were on to a good thing on the power consumption.
Wow, I love that. What a cool story. That's a great story to end on.
Yeah,
Thank
we're
you so
out of
much.
time.
We
Hermann,
appreciate
thank
it.
you so much for joining the show. It's been an absolute pleasure. We could go on for hours, but we'd love to do it again at some point.
Anytime.
Thank you very much.
Okay,
Thank you, sir. Cheers.
Really good to meet you.
Good to meet you.
Thank you.
Hey.
Oh yeah, there's a
look at that.
Mike and
Cherry
Bajwa,
cap.
you wanna
Have we got Mike and Chen coming in? Chen, you coming as well? Let's go, dude.
Should we stand up for this?
We'd have to adjust everything.
Do we stand up
sit
or
down?
do we just sit
Fine.
down?
Yeah. Just come in. We're live right now, so.
The mic. Bring the mic
on.
round. I want to get there.
You can do some like personal adjusting. Boys, give me some. What's going on? Yeah. Congrats, man.
Huge congrats.
These guys have had no sleep. These guys haven't been to bed yet. That's for sure.
You guys should ring the bell.
Oh yeah, ring the bell. Is this? Where did we find this?
I don't know. I just found it.
Let's put it down there. I love that. Okay, it'll be comfortable. Do you want me to like move up a bit? Sorry, it's pretty cramped in here.
Yeah, it's pretty cramped.
Okay. Boys, welcome to the European Technology Network. For those listening at home, this is quite a special moment for me because these guys are 2 of my mentors from my old company. I used to work with these guys at Convergence, and they've gone out and they've raised $5.1 million today. But why don't you tell us, introduce yourselves, introduce the company, give us the lowdown, go.
Amazing. Yeah, Ronan, it's absolutely special to be here, mate. It's kind of crazy because I remember launch time, this time maybe like 2 years ago, or 1 year ago actually.
For Convergence.
Yeah. I'd never seen a man so strung out in my life looking at Ronan.
Disheveled.
Yeah, I'm Michael, CEO and co-founder here in Zaro, and got here my co-founder Chen.
Yeah, hi, I'm Chen. I mean, it's bring a good memory back, right? I'm a co-founder here, CTO of Zaro. Very happy to be here.
Let's go. You boys, why don't you introduce the news that you've announced today, and then we can get into a little bit about the product. But yeah, you start with the news.
Yeah, absolutely. So we just came out of stealth as of 8 a.m. this morning. We've raised a $5.1 million pre-seed round led by Cherry Ventures, where we are today.
Give it up, Cherry.
Cheers. Let's go. Some more cherry.
Yeah. We've got some massive follow-on investors as well. So we got Thomas Wolf, co-founder of Hugging Face.
Pretty cool.
He's a dog.
Thomas Domke, ex-CEO of GitHub. And a couple of we've got Players Fund, First Check Fund.
Shout out to the Players Fund boys.
Focus Bell, thank you, mate. Thank you.
Cheeky.
Yeah. So I'm really excited to be here. Already a bunch of users swarming our platform. Really excited.
Amazing. Walk us through the product itself. The whole element of this is, and it's a conversation that we've discussed a bunch on the show, is the context layer. Break down the product. What is the thinking here? What does it do? How can it help people?
Yeah.
I mean, we already know because we're using it 24/7.
What is the big thesis?
Yeah. So we'll tell you how we got there. So when Ronan, Chen, and myself were working in Convergence, we're building these web agents, which Ronan probably remembers quite well.
Yeah.
And
love those things.
and basically this thing would go into the web and try to complete a task for you. But I mean, if we be honest, right, I mean, the thing was accurate maybe like 20-30% of the time, which was good for the time, right? And when we got acquired by Salesforce about 11 months into the journey, we realized that one of the main issues for these agents not working well was the context that they actually pull information from.
Yeah.
So Chen and I were looking at this problem. We're like, hey, like Salesforce is a little bit further away from that problem than we were at Convergence. And so we went out to build this context layer, right? And so effectively what it does, it gives these agents very long-term horizon memory, right? So now they can do all these like crazy things, but telling someone about that on a whiteboard doesn't really like bring it to life. So we actually built an entire platform around the context layer. So you can build like full applications, full agents just based off this context layer. So like what you guys are doing, like preparing for the show, using Zara there to help you like aggregate all the show notes in one place, pull in your emails, do the clippings afterwards. But yeah, I mean, even your chief of staff is a bit worried that his job is at risk. So.
He's building on Zara now.
Yeah.
He can't hear us.
Sorry, Alex. We just hired Alex. We just joined the team.
I want to talk about, because we had this conversation with Will Caplan at Tano earlier, who was on the show earlier, and we were talking about whether a company goes and builds their own, application software, or they go and buy it. This is a bet for companies to go and build their own software. Or build on top of their own software. Can you talk to us about like what does the future look like for a company going to build on top of and adjacent to the software that they already use and they already have ingrained and integrated into their business?
Yeah, I guess there's 2 points there, right? One is that what we found internally is that we haven't had to buy any external software.
Yeah,
right?
You said we're running the whole thing on Zara.
The whole thing on Zara.
I asked you like point blank. You're like, are you guys using Zara? You're like, I use the whole business is on Zara.
I'm only using it.
Yeah, which is nuts.
But telling people to be like, hey, like you should give up all your SaaS tools on day one to come to Zara is a bit of an uplift.
Yeah.
So what we try to do is to say like, hey, like come in and find the use case that you like. Yeah. Maybe it is, managing a CRM, or it could just be like building your own bespoke app just for ETN.
Yeah.
You can just do that and pipe in your existing tools to make that happen today. And so that's really powerful. But once you start to see the value of it, you're like, hey, wait a second. Like, why don't I just, do this other thing on Zara, right? And do this other thing.
I found myself like building, for all of our invoices, I was like, maybe I could just like automate all of that. And then I did. And I was like, oh, great. That's useful.
Yeah. And I've watched that like live in real time as like, I don't know, my life gets easier without me even knowing what's happening behind that.
I'm like, by the way,
don't care how, but like, sick.
I'm like, by the way, an agent's working on this now. Oh, great.
But Chen, one for you, like technologically speaking, well, because I think like it's connected to what we were doing at Convergence in a way, and maybe that was like the building blocks of the foundations of what was capable back then. But I think things have changed a lot since then in terms of like model capabilities. Could you maybe talk to us about like what has changed and what's allowing you guys to cook something this hot?
Yeah, definitely. Back in Convergence, we built one of the best like multi-agent system in the world, right? Which is great. But then we realized what actually going to improve the agent to become something much more powerful is not agent or model itself, like data. We've been seeing data being missing from all the AI products nowadays. Yeah. Even though we have something called the context layer, either a memory or something, it's not good enough, right? When we talk about some company actually using AI, the data they have like a 10 gigabyte. Different type of data. Right? How are you going to manage it? How are you getting the agent to read and retrieve and update those information effectively and accurately? So that's how we see this problem. We don't start with AI agent to say, okay, I want to build a best AI agent. We want to build a data layer that allow AI agent to work on that, right? Then we build AI agent on top of that, and we realize it's so much more powerful than any AI agent you've ever seen in your life. And then software as well. The software we mean here are not just like legacy CRM or anything. It's AI-powered software, right? It's AI-native software. And that's why we have achieved so far, and all because of its data layer, which is very unique.
Yeah, awesome. And then I guess like break down the raise for us then. Like, what's the focus with the cash? Like, do you guys want to be spending this on teams? Is this on like token maxing? Like, what? Because 5.1's pretty nice pre-season. Where's all the money going? I mean, we're at the Cherry event. I think a Cherry on next as well. Like Dinika and Filip maybe on next. We can have that as well.
Pretty sure this is being recorded, right? So got to be honest. But so we've had the capital for about 11 weeks now. And our team already is 13 strong. And so we're pretty happy with that number. We might make a couple more hires, but that's a blend of like some incredible technical talent. But also we haven't, we've maxed on go-to-market as well. So basically running two strategies concurrently. Our product-led growth strategy is run by Yanis. He was the ex-growth advisor for Lovable. Took him from 0 to 100 mil ARR.
Very cool.
Absolute mental machine, man. Like it's crazy. And then on the actual like enterprise sales side, we have like 2 ex-Lunos people that are helping us over there. 4 deployed engineers, a couple of ops people, and then we have another 5 engineers, which are just state of the art. So with that, we're pretty comfortable with that team size, but already with Zara, it feels like we've got like a team of 50 because we can just ship so fast.
Yeah. What was the first thing that you guys built on Zorro for the Zorro business? Like, what was
Good
the first
question.
Yeah.
Good question. What did you build?
HR, right?
What did you build? HR.
Yeah. We get HR locked down from day one.
I was having the same reason that you don't need HR anymore. Like this is, I guess, a reason to you just replace me with Zara. Can you tell us a bit about like when was it that you guys came together to actually like decide to give this a shot, like run at this, like the founding story, I guess. But like, was it were you guys just chatting behind closed doors, or was this like after Convergence or like post Salesforce? Like what?
I'd say it's probably our Convergence, right?
Yeah, we've been chatting a lot in Convergence, after Convergence, about this idea. And we were able to come up with some, I was able to do some experiment, right? And worked out some architecture that actually worked. Then when we revisit all the chat we had in Convergence or in Salesforce, it's like, oh, it all makes sense. And then we find like, yeah, it's the right time to actually start to build a business on top of the architecture. Yeah.
How have the models like improved since the Convergence days to now? Like, you said like, the Convergence days they're working kind of 20-30% of the time. Now like it can do a lot of the stuff that it surprises me. I'll give it not that much, in the chatbot, and it'll just come out with a bunch of stuff. And I'm like, oh wow, how did it even do that? How does it even know how to do that, right?
Yeah.
How have the models kind of evolved and changed over time that allows like an agent to go and execute so much?
I think there are two factors about it. The model definitely improved a lot within like 1 year, right? And you might be surprised how we don't even use frontier model, because we want to make sure everyone have a right cost on the token. Don't just spend $200 a day, right? So, however, the data layer itself is so important as well. So those two things combined together. If you want me to give a number, I can say like 99% of time work, because we've been running a lot of like a sales meeting now, right? Every time we go to a sales meeting, the people will say like, hey, like I want to build this. Like, can we do that? I'm like, give a try. They always work. So like, I think it's very, very accurate nowadays. Not just because it can finish a thing, but finish a thing in a way that the user wanted to.
Yeah. That's cool on the not going down like, which most people I guess would maybe think to do without taking regard for like the burden on the consumer in terms of the price they're paying, like just off general token consumption, but like not going for a frontier model. I saw someone the other day put out on Twitter that they'd switched most of their stuff to DeepSeek. And they'd actually found that it was like 1/10 of the cost compared to like using whatever they had at Frontier at the moment. I don't know who's winning that race right now. I'm not like technically efficient enough to know, but I just use it. I just like type stuff in. I'm like, hey, what's the weather like tomorrow? But they'd find that like 1, they were spending less, and 2, that they'd actually seen some of their operations like improve as well. So like what have you seen? Like what is the thinking? I guess yes. 1 is like you save the consumer money.
Yeah.
Like are you noticing like a quality difference, or it's just actually
there are definitely quality difference here, right? Like we noticed that like, even without a frontier model, sometimes it's even better in something.
Wow.
Like I think a lot of a client or our beta user we call come to tell us like, oh, this is really smart. Like it's smarter than Claude. I'm like, well, really? But
it feels like that.
It feels like that, right? So I think those frontier.
But if it feels like that, it is like that, right?
Oh, okay, that's good to know. But
positive endorsement there.
I'm not being paid, but
and the user, just leave the money like that. Nice. What are you guys excited for? Are you speaking today, or have you spoken already?
Yeah. So we'll be speaking at 2:30 on stage.
Okay. What's the talk about? What are we
we're going to be walking through a history of a creator that you might know of that's using that's using Zara as well. we're going to be talking about like what its unique differentiator is, how this context layer can work for any business of any size, and the fact that we're already in content companies, tech companies, and venture companies all across Europe now.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, like really excited to share.
That's very exciting. Well, boys, you've created a very, very cool product. I am literally using it every day. So.
Amazing! Is that it up on your screen?
Yes.
There it is.
Leave the money down there. Put all the, bring it in cash.
It's looking good.
You showed to the camera.
What was my last? It deleted something, so I had to get it back.
You can take the tenner back.
I had an agent delete it. Don't worry. It was great.
We are coming on time, so look, we will wish you well.
Thank you, mate.
Amazing first appearance on ETN. I'm so happy that we managed to do it.
Yeah.
Boys, I'm buzzing for you. It's so huge.
Great.
I'll try and catch your speech. What time's that? 2:30.
2:30. Yeah.
Okay.
We'll be there.
We'll try to get that. We'll try to get it.
So someone in, someone out.
Yeah. We can bring Alex in.
One in, one off or something.
Boys, thank you so much, Jen. Absolute pleasure, mate. Good to see you again.
So it was nice.
Thank you, mate.
Yeah, it's a tight squeeze.
Congrats. Yeah.
Cheers, mate.
Good stuff.
Go well.
Good luck on the speech as well.
Thank you, mate.
Okay, we are ready
tight in
for
there.
our next guest whenever you
Please.
guys are ready.
Filip and Dinika, founding partners and partner at Cherry Ventures, are coming on the
up
show.
next. We got Sarah over here. You gonna come say hi? We're
Wanna come
live.
say hi
Just
on the
come
show?
give the screen a wave. The mastermind behind the day. Give a little shout out to everyone. The
Shout out
mastermind,
everyone.
Sarah.
Who built this whole event? You know, this is your doing.
Upstairs is looking very swanky. I saw the merch room.
We have a swag shop.
Yeah,
It's
that's
very cool.
That's really
Go
cool.
buy the swag if you're here, please.
Please
It's good.
come
It's good
check
swag.
it out.
I like these, by the way. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
They're very
Oh yeah,
nice.
I've not opened my lovely
well,
gift. I
that's
think it's
fine.
down here, but I will open
get
it.
it to you,
Yeah,
yeah.
we will do it. Hello, welcome to the show. It's so good to have you
How's
on.
it going? Thank you so
Hello.
much.
Hey guys.
Hey, how's it going?
Sir.
Good to see you.
Good to have you on, my friend.
Exciting day.
I'm trying to. It's a bit of a squeeze in here, so
okay.
feel free to adjust the mics, however is needed. Okay, amazing. I'm going to move that up a little bit.
Oh, I just moved it down.
All right, let's.
Yeah. You're fine. That's fine.
Okay.
Fine.
Amazing. Look, well, why don't for the viewers at home, do you want to introduce both yourselves and what you focus on, and then we can get into it. We've got a bunch of questions.
Sounds good.
Sounds.
And why we're here as well.
Yes,
Probably the
sounds
day
great.
as well.
Well, you've just caught us on the tail end of our AGM section of the day.
Let's go.
But I'm Dinika, partner at Cherry. I run our team here in the UK. We have a brand new, very fancy office in Fitzrovia, which
Very nice.
Great spot.
have you
We have.
yes,
You've got
yes.
too much space in there.
Yeah,
Far too much space.
I asked for the real
There's
estate
like a-
agent that hooked you guys up actually.
Wraparound terrace,
Yeah.
a long time coming, and I think appropriate for the caliber of founders that we back. I'm so pumped today for two reasons. Zara's coming out of Stealth,
That's
a
good.
company that
Shout
we
out to Mike
backed.
and Chen.
Michael and Chen, Philip's company Alta Ars just came out of Stealth.
No way.
Our first
Congrats.
Announced today.
defense-
Double day.
our first
What a
defense
day for
investment
Cherry.
at Cherry. And then our afternoon session today is going to be amazing. We're going to have 500 people here across the entire ecosystem in Europe who've flown down despite the busy events week that's going on today to be here with us and to see some really incredible generational founders speak on stage about the future of Europe and why the time is now.
Amazing. I want to ask and start the conversation on why the time is now. Like why Europe? Why is it really happening like right now? Like what is what is so exciting about the time that we have at the moment?
No, look, I think when we started in Europe, it was really about building local champions. I mean, Zalando company I was part of building.
Yeah.
We won Europe, yes,
Yeah, you
over
did.
time, over 6-7
did.
years. It was a grind, starting in Germany, then going to the places that are most similar to Germany, so we went to Austria. But the times have changed in the sense that founders have global ambition today. The type of people that we back today and the teams we're working with, they want to win not just in Germany, not just in Europe, but they want to win globally. And I think you need a few ingredients. One of them is obviously talent, which we all know Europe has. We have the best engineers in the world. We have a lot of expertise, both on the company building side and including like go-to-market, like things like that. And the second thing you need is you need capital. And also there, yes, there's still some gaps to the US. But we're closing that gap on the early stage side. I think it is close. On the growth side, still some way to go. And the third thing you need is ambition, and that's, I think, that's the real thing that has changed. And we hope that this day is also going to be really a showcase for this incredible ambition that we have in Europe, and that we're all, very, very proud to be a small part of.
Yeah, amazing. One for you, Dinika. Like, I'd love to understand, in 2026, what is Cherry looking for in the founders that they're backing? What are you seeing right now that's coming across your desk that really makes you excited? I know like Mike and Chen is one that we mentioned earlier, but where's the bar at now?
I mean, the bar is exactly founders like Michael and Chen, like you say, like ambitions way bigger than themselves, wanting to be a global company from day one, wanting to build way bigger than themselves, and where you understand that it's just these founders who can build the problems that they are suited to building because they've seen it themselves, whether at Convergence, whether at Salesforce, leading Agentforce. And so I think this concept of like the type of founder building the type of company. So we've got 2 companies not announced yet that will come out from Stealth where you'll see the same pattern. So founders with a unique edge to build the exact thing that they're building. This concept of founder market fit is the thing we're looking for, but more than that, it's unfettered ambition.
Yeah. You kind of touched on it a little bit, where it's like, Mike and Chen, they've seen what like great looks like already, right? Yeah. Do you is that something that you're like actively looking for? You're finding people who have seen, whether that's an enterprise kind of level company, or that's a company like Convergent who are right at the beginning of their journey, and not even in the first year, right? Like they've seen what great looks like. What is that? Like why do you think that's so important?
So I think it's super interesting because you see 2 things. On the one hand, you see founders trying it for the 3rd time, for the 4th time. So really these like repeat entrepreneurs. Yeah. And I mean, you've just heard Jonathan, founder of Light. He was a financial analyst before joining Pleo, before then taking leadership role at our portfolio company Juni, to then spin out and start Light on his own. So you see the trajectory of these people that are then, earning their ropes and then trying to do it on their own. Sure. Or you've heard Mirko Desiro, who actually, he could live in Hawaii now and be surfing all day because he sold his company for a couple of $100 million to IBM. Instead, he said, like, I want to do this again. I want to build now. I want to, correct this market for real because I know it's a $100 billion market that I'm building in. So you see that part. You see a lot more experienced founders, and then of course, the European flywheel is in motion, and successful founders, repeat the story. And then you also see something else which I find super cool, and it's also a group of founders that we are really enjoy working with. You see like these super young kids because. It's often research teams from university. We're very close with, Oxford, Cambridge in the UK, but also RWTH in Aachen or LMU in Munich, TU Munich. And you see basically young founders getting started out of the blocks, being able to build a lot with very little, because AI has enabled them to do so. And then also seeing traction pretty fast. Right? So I think you have both ends of the spectrum, and I wouldn't say one is more important than the other, but they're both actually combined work super well and create extremely exciting stuff.
With like companies who are able to go get traction quicker, they're able to close like enterprise deals quicker. Do you find that creates more noise, or do you think that creates more kind of like signal of like, oh, that's the, if they've just landed an enterprise company maybe a few weeks after raising their pre-seed or something, is that like more companies I think are doing that more? So is that more noise, or is that like a signal of like, okay, I want to go and get a check into that company?
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. So a lot of enterprises right now are
they're just adopting,
playing in the market, right? And they're large innovation budgets. that are growing bigger and bigger because enterprises want to understand what's happening in the market as well.
100%.
So I think our job as investors is when to understand that they're playing and experimenting versus real signal.
Sure.
There's a real gap between those two things at the moment, and so that's a lot of the work we do, right? Trying to pick things apart and understanding, hey, is this enterprise trialing 4 companies at the same time doing the same thing?
Yeah. Do you ever talk to the customers? Like, do you ever?
All the time. And I think it's a lot about is about yes, competition is fierce. If you want to win a big customer, don't imagine you're the only one trying to sell to them.
Sure.
There's going to be like at least 5-6 competitors
100%.
trying to do the same thing.
Yeah.
And then I think it's also important to think about durability because the world's moving so fast. The way that AI has changed the picture also enables enterprises to build a lot more things in-house. So as a company, you need to, as a startup, selling to these people, you need to think a lot about durability. So where do you integrate? What type of workflows do you own? Do you become a system of record? Do you have a data mode? Because otherwise you're also out very fast. You're in much faster because everyone now is trying new stuff. But then you have to think about like what's really there to stay.
Yeah, definitely.
You both mentioned that the world is changing incredibly fast, and it's not, it's on both sides, right? It's on the side of the VC, it's on the side of the operators or the founders. The metrics in which VCs backed companies are also changing. Like we had Georgia from Index on the other day, and it's like most of the conversations now is like, okay, yeah, billions are great, but what's the next? What's a trillion, right? And like we're seeing like, is there a change in milestones in which maybe not relevant for pre-seed, but past that, is there like a I don't know what it really was historically, but company hits this ARR milestone. Okay, cool. Now it's open to having a conversation with them and seeing maybe would be the seed of the Series A. Like, how are those milestones changing from what you guys have seen? Like, is there a new benchmark level that looks interesting?
Yeah, I think I spoke to Jonathan Sanders from Light, and he said something that has stuck with me all day, and he was like, when you see companies like Anthropic and SpaceX going public for $1 trillion, and then you think about the impact that I'm creating, it's large relatively, but then it also makes me feel so small. Yeah. And I think this perspective is really interesting and more from an emotional mind shift standpoint, right?
Yeah,
Which is like, it can create insane amounts of outsized ambition if you channel it the right way. But to directly answer your question, I think, not to give you the classic VC answer, but it all depends. Like sometimes we see companies with very little revenue still raising massive rounds.
I mean, and also I think it takes time, contrary to what I built. What I said before, you can build so much more with so much less these days, but like a product like Light that is actually there to replace an ERP, or just talking about Alta Ares, the company that we've announced around in today, that is a complex product. That's not something you build overnight, right? So you kind of need to give it some time, but then we see that the bar is higher in a sense of how these companies, once they've hit product market fit, how they're growing. And that's something where, maybe a few years ago when you raise the seed round and you manage to get to like 1.5 million ARR, you're ready for your Series A. That bar has definitely gone up significantly. So we often see companies that are approaching 10 million revenue in their, sometimes even their first year of existence. If you take Dash Zero, for example, another company. So I think it has changed the picture. The good news is that even at the later stage, so even the companies that are a little bit bigger, if they're working in today's market, they continue compounding. And they compound similarly to early stage businesses, which is then what happens if you look at sort of like the massive numbers that are being thrown around by the Anthropic software world. I mean, like, imagine like at what scale these guys are like doubling revenue, and like it has never been able to do before.
It seems like we're entering like a new paradigm, right? I mean, I see a bunch of people trying to make predictions and comment on what's happening, but I guess like the core answer is like we just don't know. This has never happened before in the history of financial markets, right?
Yeah.
3 of the biggest IPOs we've ever seen, all happening probably in the same year,
Yeah,
the same like 3 months
100%.
timeline.
But also you had Hermann Hauser saying that despite the fact that ARM is at $380 billion of market cap, that his goal is now to take it to $1 trillion. Because it's possible.
It's possible. And you can see his conviction as well. Like, man, the guy was, he was like speaking to our soul.
That was a great
nuts.
interview.
I was like, that guy has conviction.
He's
I was an investor, dumped the whole thing.
That's already the check.
100%.
We are just like last couple questions. What are you guys excited about that's coming up right now? Any spaces that you're particularly keen on, or anything from Cherry that's coming out that we can expect and look forward to?
Yeah, again, like not to give a VC answer, but I think it's the companies that will matter for Europe. That's the ones I'm most excited about. Alta Ares is a good example. But then also look at Proxima Fusion, look at the exploration company. I think the next decade is going to be so important for Europe. If we don't get this decade right, and actually we're laying the foundation now, we're talking not about the next 10 years, we're actually talking about this window of opportunity that we have to build stuff that truly matters for Europe, that gets us in a better place long term. Working on European sovereignty, on resilience, on our competency in core areas like defense, like energy, or of course AI and infrastructure for AI. So I think these are the type of things that I feel like if we don't get them right, we're actually running into a huge problem in Europe. So if you're building in this space, please come say hi and talk.
Good answer.
I think for me it comes down to founders. I think it's really cool to say all the things about the different spaces that I think that really big companies can be built. But ultimately we invest because we're taken by a founding team and their ability to convince us that this is the right team to build much bigger than themselves.
Sure.
Awesome stuff. Guys, we are at time, but thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for being here.
Well, thank you for having us.
Thanks for inviting us.
Quite a setup. Are we turning the camera around at some point?
We'll have to do a quick 360.
In the chapel.
Enjoy some of the upstairs.
We will.
We'll have to come get some shots up there.
Oh no, but listen to some of the spicy conversations.
Also that, yeah. We've got a good pipeline of speakers coming in and out.
I saw a camera, so maybe you can ask for some.
Yeah, your cameras upstairs look pretty good actually. I noticed that. But guys, thank you so much. Thanks for having us here as well.
Pleasure.
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Cheers.
Yeah, thanks for inviting us. See you soon. Where's Varun?
So cool that you had Will from Tano this morning as
Yeah,
well.
Will opened up the show. He's a legend.
Next on the show we have Varun Anand. He is the co-founder and COO.
There's Varun now. Let's
head
go.
of operations at Clay. I believe. Here we go.
There we go. He's back. What's going on, dude? We got to start meeting like this.
Good to see you, dude.
Good to see you guys.
How are we? Please take a seat, whichever one you prefer.
Be intimate with you guys.
Yeah, let's get up nice, real close.
Yeah, please do.
Okay, dude, what's new?
happening?
What's going on?
What's going on? We're here. We're in London. We're in Westminster.
Always with the
It's
energy.
incredible.
Wait, you've got the shoes on.
I got the shoes again.
Yeah, let's get him.
Get a quick ride.
There we go.
Nice.
Clay shoes, limited edition, guys. We gotta get.
I'm wearing them just for you guys.
I love that.
You must wear them every day, right?
No, not every day, but
Okay, most days.
for high-profile moments like this.
Yeah. Are you speaking today?
Right after this.
Oh, wait, so let's try and. Is that? God, that's on tight. Flip it down.
That's fine.
Yeah, that's okay.
That'd be fine.
Did you guys know that your chief of staff used to work at Bloomberg, and Bloomberg has a policy that if you leave, you could never come back? Did you know this?
Really?
Yeah.
Hopefully he doesn't want to ever come back, because this is the last company he's going to work for.
That's gone. That's a topic worth examining.
Alex, you never told us that you can never go back to Bloomberg.
No, he can never go back. Except they made an exception for our head of recruiting, who was so good at recruiting that she was able to come back.
Really? No way.
If you leave,
do you have that?
Bloomberg,
Do you have that
you can
at
never
Clay?
go back.
Like,
No. You're welcome.
Okay.
First of all, very few people
You're
leave,
welcome back.
But if you do, you should definitely come back. Because
Okay.
we already know you, you know? And it's great, yeah.
No, I
So
like
you
that.
come back.
Give us
I'm short-sighted.
Give us the update. Give us the update of Clay. I can't remember the last time we had you on. But
The update's big, you know? Things are happening.
You guys just moved to London the last time you came
Yeah,
on.
we
right?
moved to London, opened the office. We're obviously here, we're expanding. I think we're about to launch a bunch of exciting things on the product side, which will be really cool. Basically, I think we're launching this concept of audiences. So imagine for you guys, okay, I'm just making this up right now, but imagine for you guys, you want to have your entire audience in one dynamic place, okay? So it's all your listeners, all your subscribers, everything in one dynamic place. And you're like, like, okay, I want to combine what's happening to these people out there in the world. Are they at companies that are fundraising? Are they growing? What's going on? Combine that with your own subscriber data, and then have this be like a dynamic, systematic like engine that's always on the background.
Okay.
And we're launching basically the idea, okay, now that's an audience that you've created, and it's like, it can be millions and millions of people. And then what can you do with that audience? And so on one side you have agents that can take action, and that's autonomous and happening without human intervention. And that's like account agents going in and trying to get those subscribers to upgrade on your newsletter and get them to engage with your content in different ways and doing things that humans would take forever to do. And then you have another section called workflows where humans can take their creative ideas. You guys are creative geniuses. You guys take your ideas. You can build something that actually engages them in a thoughtful way. And that's where the product is going, and like that's the engine we're building right now.
What's the kind of like we're seeing a lot of companies, especially there was a company that came on last week called Town.
Okay,
that just
I
raised
love Town.
what is it, 30 million I think from A16Z, 55 million from A16Z. Like a lot of that was like it was like a prompt kind of thing. It was like you have the agent running in the background with all the context, and it was like, hey, go and do this. This is like the next thing that you should go and do.
Yes.
How does like Clay kind of work along that kind of workflow of you have customers, they have all this data. It's not about maybe condensing that data into like, okay, now I can see all of it in a dashboard or whatever it is. It's like, go and do this.
Yes,
like that's the next action as a human you should go and take.
That's right.
Can you talk to us about that?
Some of the action shouldn't even be human driven, right?
No.
So for example, it's like
so you've got action, but you've got also like recommendation. You've got those two.
Yeah, and the agents will go do some things, and then some things could get surfaced for humans.
Yeah.
But just to give you an example, it's like, all right, let's look at all the accounts in your CRM, right? And a lot of accounts are closed lost, right? First of all, your reps haven't probably filled it in correctly. Like, why did they close lost, right? Most reps don't, and so it's like, okay, well, maybe an agent can go figure out what actually happened. Go read your gong calls. Go read emails. Go read all this information to figure out what actually happened there. And then, like, when the circumstances change, because you know the reason, the agent's now looking out in the world, figuring out what could have changed. When it has changed, it's like, let's take action on that, right? Let's go reactivate that account, right? Like, let's say you're the Westminster Abbey over here, and you're trying to do lease out some of your space to ETN, right? You want to know the next time that ETN might be interested in coming back, right?
Okay, cool. I like that.
Or you want to know the next time that some other person, some other company, some other media company is in London, and you're tracking all that information. You could reach out in the moment, and you're like, come to Westminster Abbey, come and film here. Like let's go do marketing for Westminster Abbey.
Preempt people to.
Let's go be the growth team for Westminster Abbey. What do you think?
Yeah,
I like that. I would do that.
If we're setting you up as a trio,
if Westminster Abbey would have us, we would happily do that.
I think we can make a pitch. That could make a good pitch. Let's do demand gen for Westminster Abbey.
Anand has come to London,
we can
and now
work on that.
he's the growth guy at Westminster Abbey.
We're going to collab on that. That can be a marketing stuff.
Guys, they've been doing burial since 1066. They've been crowning monarchs since William the Conqueror. Okay, I could make this massive. Okay, what a great foundation to build on. We could blow this up.
I agree.
I don't want to use the word blow this up in the context of
maybe not.
I can't say that. But,
I could make it grow really big.
We could really expand.
I like that. Yes. Okay, well, before we do that,
market share. Let's go get all the other churches.
I want to ask.
Verticalize. Let's do like a McDonald's type kind of model.
Okay, we're going to buy all the churches, but before we buy the churches, I want to ask. So we don't really get too many. Like, I think you guys own a huge portion of the AI/GTM motion.
Yes.
You guys just own it, and you owned it for a number of years.
Else.
Well, a large percentage of it anyway, right?
Yeah,
You're one of the biggest brands. Like, you guys crossed 100 million ARR 6 months ago, I think it was, 5 months ago. What's happening in the world of AI and go-to-market today? Because it's not something that we're constantly at the frontier of. Like, I'd love to know how have things changed, even in the last 6 months. Like, what are the buyers that you're speaking to? Like, what are they focused on? Like, how are they? Like, what are their challenges? What do they really want to get into the business at these large enterprise companies?
Well, the large enterprise companies, I would say, I don't think that much has changed. I think there's a lot of desire, and I think there's a lot of hunger and a lot of pressure from the C-suite.
They want to change, but they're not.
Yeah, there's a lot of pressure from the C-suite on using AI and doing all these things. Like, I think there is that exists for sure, but it's not. I wouldn't say in reality so much has changed. I think the cutting edge teams that are moving quickly, adopting things fast, they basically adopted the mindset of great engineering teams. How do you ship quickly? And how do you bring that mindset from product engineering teams and bring it to go-to-market, right?
Okay.
And I think that's the mindset that the best teams have figured out and have structured their team accordingly to do. So we have this like concept of go-to-market engineers, right? But they have like people iterating, testing ideas, coming up with them quickly, and that's not really a mindset that most go-to-market teams operate with. Just as a small example, internally at Clay, we're bringing in the concept of CI/CD, continuous improvement, continuous deployment, from an engineering concept into Clay, into how we operate our internal go-to-market operations team. But to do that, you have to like retool all the architecture. You have to set everything up for observability so that when things break down, you can figure out the debugging way faster. These are concepts that are common in engineering, but haven't been brought over to the go-to-market side because of the complexity, because of the speed. But the teams that are bringing that mindset are the ones that are winning and moving faster.
How many more things like that engineering has kind of like, they've either named or like that's just like a standard practice in terms of speed? How many more of those things can you bring over to the GTM side, do you think?
Well, I love that GTM engineer is a great
yeah.
I think you guys
it's blowing
coined that.
We coined it.
Yeah, you coined it, and now there's like a ton of like LinkedIn jobs called the GTM engineer, right?
There's a lot of them now. It's the fastest growing role in tech, I think, now.
Easily,
the UK government actually just literally
they're hiring a GTM engineer?
No, but they probably should. They probably should.
That would be cool.
Westminster Abbey should hire a GTM engineer.
They should.
I saw the fastest growing role in across like scraped LinkedIn jobs across all industries was SDR, BDR.
Really?
Yeah. So like sales teams are, and it's something like 26% in over the last year on year. But accounting was down like 40%. But SDR and BDR and anything connected to the GTM motion was up like.
Well, companies are still growing. Like market is still growing faster. Like I think people are like, because of all this automation, because of AI, you need less of this. I actually think the opportunity is getting bigger and bigger. Yeah. And the speed, the need to like get after it is like has never been greater.
Yeah. More product being built, therefore more sales eyes and humans and agents working on getting that into the companies.
Yeah,
I guess. Yeah.
It was a funny like what was it? It was like something I saw that I liked. It was like pre-AI. I had one project unfinished. Post-AI, I have 12 projects unfinished. Like it's not like it's just multiplying the work to be done. And you finish one project, you can go and start another 5. It's like I think there's just some sort of continuous loop back where like you will just. That there's a multiplier effect of using it. I don't think it's like you're getting that single job done quicker, even though you are, but it's like you can now be like an orchestrator of multiple agents, right? Like the roles are expanding and kind of blending.
Yeah, for sure.
I find that fascinating. Well, give us updates from you specifically at Cherry, like next 3 months, what are we excited for? What can like us as consumers look forward to?
On the play side, I think look, I think it's like how are we going to basically, I think what we're excited about over the next few months is like, okay, how do we expand into some of these new personas and roll out this new way of operating in Clay? I think in Clay, in particular, we've historically had like this table set up, the spreadsheet set up, and I think it was limiting for a lot of different reasons. And now it's like, okay, how do you actually move past that into a much more dynamic, agent-based architecture where you can actually monitor your entire audience.
Everything is connected.
And and then you have like workflows that you can build much more dynamically on like tens of millions of records at the greatest scale possible.
Yeah.
And then how do we take that and bring that to every single sales rep in the industry who wants to access that power through MCP, right? How do we bring that power to marketers who are excited about Clay, are using Clay, but there's so much more potential that we can do with them, right? And so like these are the kind of things that we're building and launching over the next few months.
Yeah. Are you guys are actively going into companies, kind of like showing them how to build on Clay and how the best ways to go and use the product for their specific business? Is that how?
It's partly that, but it's also just a mindset too. You know? It's partly this mindset of go-to-market engineering, how to approach your go-to-market, how to...
Yeah, it's like an experimental, like, guys, like, you can, like, if you have an idea, go and try it.
Yeah, and how do you bring that to life the fastest, you know? And then the way you do that could be Clay, but we're also intellectually honest enough to know that maybe there are other solutions. Maybe you want to build first-party tooling to do things. We're open-minded about it. And if Clay's the right fit, then okay, how can you get on board to do the most with it really fast?
A lot of the answers
a great way to think about it.
On these questions, I feel there's connections to the culture that you guys have built internally, and we had Shuo, the co-founder of Deal, on when we were in Greece, and like something that was really funny that came in the conversation.
Well, you guys are traveling. Greece, London.
Yeah, that was a good couple of weeks, to be fair. But she mentioned like something that was really funny. Like at Deal, they screen for happiness in their recruiting profile, and she kind of broke that down as to why that is. But I feel like Clay, like whenever we have conversations, you always come with like really great energy. When we visited you guys in London, there was great energy in the office. There was a mascot of like a
Archie.
Yeah, that.
Yeah.
I forget what the animal was.
It was like a massive clay mascot. It was cool. I can't remember what it was.
An animal or not?
No, it was like London Bridge vibes.
Okay, got it. But like, is there something that you guys have like focused on doing from day one in terms of the culture that you're trying to build? Like, any learnings from that? Anything that you can share? Like, what is the culture at Clay? Like, how would you describe it?
The culture is.
I feel like you'd also get a job at Deal because you're so happy. FYI.
It's like. Look, what we're trying to do is we are trying to create a space where everyone can kind of be their authentic selves and be appreciated for it, right? We're trying to create a psychologically safe environment. And in a psychologically safe environment that's truly safe, you can be yourself. And if you can be yourself, you can take risks. And if you can take risks at scale, that's how you keep winning.
Yeah.
Now, the challenge is how do you do that while also maintaining a high-performance culture? Because at times they're at odds with each other. But basically everything we do is like, how do we approach like company building with authenticity, with integrity, with kindness to build that space where people feel that way in a way they can't in other places? There's this amazing article that Mishti on our team wrote in First Rounds magazine called How I Bet on Clay and Clay Bet on Me, which really I think shares the culture in a much more detailed and rich way than I ever could in words.
So cool.
Okay, well, go and read that. But thank you very much. We're out of time.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
Good to see you, sir.
Thanks, boss. See you. Thanks, guys.
Good luck with the rest of the day. Your
All
talk
right.
as well.
See you guys.
Cheers, dude. Have a good one. And we at some point we have to get some shoes. I don't know how we can make it happen, but we got it.
These are hand painted in Florence, you know.
Yes. Hand painted in Florence, everyone. Cheers, sir. Thank you.
Who is next on the show?
I'm not sure. Are we jumping around on the
We're kind of
order
jumping around, to be honest. I have no idea who's next.
Let's have a look.
Oh, Jill Ellis. Okay, so we have 15 minutes, so we could...
maybe cut to a break.
We could cut to a break and then come back.
Cool. Cut to a quick break.
We're at a break.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to ETN, it's the European Technology Network, and we are live from Cherry Summit once again. We are joined by Harry, CEO at Maze. Harry, welcome to the show. It's good to have you on.
Thanks for having me here, guys. Yeah.
Absolute pleasure. So do you want to introduce yourself and the company Maze for the viewers and the listeners at home, and then we can get into a bunch of questions that we have?
Yeah, sure. So Maze is a cybersecurity company, basically. So we've been going around 2 years now. We've been building AI that can help you defend against the more advanced types of attacks that are starting to happen today. So specifically what we do is we have AI go off and understand all the vulnerabilities in your cloud environment or your code, figure out which ones are going to get you actually breached tomorrow, and then help you fix them as quickly as possible.
Awesome. So, I already know questions that we're going to fire out related to Mythos.
I think we should wait till that. Let's
okay,
go
we want to save the
product.
let's go products. Sorry, I'm so eager to jump in.
Okay, so the first thing that I wanted to ask about when we were doing our research was, obviously, with AI moving so quickly, whatever, there's just so much noise, right? And you just mentioned how you basically choose what is the thing that's actually going to cause a problem imminently. And then you kind of not disregard, but kind of push the next thing to the next time and the next time and the next time. Can you talk to us about the importance of doing that compared to trying to solve everything at once? Because I think a lot of companies are thinking, let me just go and put this into my company. It will solve every problem instantly, and then I'm good to go, like a plug and play type thing.
Yeah, I mean, we've been struggling for years. Just the technology has not helped us understand where the real risks are for years and years now. It's been the equivalent of looking through a crowd of people and saying, great, everyone wearing a hat could be bad. And that doesn't really help you get where you need to go. So next thing you know, we're trying to go off and trying to deal with all the people wearing hats in the audience. Meanwhile, there's really one person in that whole crowd that is the person that actually could cause some harm.
Sure.
But the tech has just never allowed us to truly understand who that person is and help us deal with it. So where we are now is that the tech is changing so fastly for attackers that it's kind of becoming irrelevant. We can no longer go look around every person in the crowd with a hat on. By the time we've done that,
it's already gone.
The bad thing has happened a long time ago. So we're having to kind of reinvent how we do a lot of this stuff and be able to find out, who the bad person is much quicker.
When you started the company, do you think that did you think that would happen or no? Do you think you'd be able to get to a point where you can see the person in the hat who's the bad guy?
Yeah, we weren't sure. We had conviction. So all of us as founders had worked around machine learning before, so we had a bit of an idea of where it was all going to go. But we kind of had conviction of we can maybe build half of it using AI, and the other half maybe needs to be something else. But then the first prototype we built, we gave it a very open-ended task and let it run for a long period of time.
Yeah.
This is 2 and a bit years ago now. And then the first time we saw what it came back, we were okay, this is pretty serious. And it was a light bulb moment, not just for what we do, but everything in security needs to move more towards this kind of approach that we now do. So
it's probably maybe something that's typically looked over, but a lot of the current narrative around the space is how fast the models are improving, and the speed at which the speed at which they're improving is also kind of accelerating as well. But I guess bearing in mind from your perspective, that also means that the risk to vulnerabilities is also increasing at, if not the same rate, right?
Exactly.
How do you guys deal with that pace? Because does that not then mean that your product is constantly evolving and shipping? And
to an extent, but the biggest problem companies have had is not understanding what the problem might be. It's been understanding their own environment.
Right.
Because there's this long chain of events that need to be true. You need 10 things to line up all in a row for you to have an actual problem.
Right.
And being able to understand that has always been the challenge. So they've kind of thrown people at the problem or much more primitive tech at the problem. So needing to understand what's happening out there in real time is less of an issue to understanding okay, in this one very specific area of the crowd, right, that person has all the characteristics that make up something that could be bad, so let's go and find him and get rid of him.
Let's talk about adoption and what the conversations that you're having with potential customers and your customers now. Are they, is it a case of kind of, oh my god, we need to get this implemented ASAP, and there is kind of no scope of we just need this done and then we're happy.
Yeah.
It's hey, just go and solve this problem for us.
Well, it's changed massively in the last 2-3 months, honestly.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
So what's funny about the whole Mythos thing coming out is, if you speak to the real people on the ground, security people, they mostly think it's kind of a PR stunt.
Yeah.
But they also,
that's what we said on the show. We were yes, I think it's just a better model, but it's definitely just hey, oh my god, this is going to destroy.
PR.
Yeah. I mean, hats off to them. Yeah. Of course.
It took over the whole world. Right?
Exactly.
In terms of the narrative.
Exactly. So most security people think 2 things at the same time. One, it was a very well done PR stunt. Two, it shines a light on a very real, very big problem. It's just like the specific model is less important than where everything is going, basically. But what's happened is the PR stunt happens. Suddenly it goes from the security team going, oh, we need to fix this, we need to do something, we need to change how we act. Suddenly the CEO, or even the board, are coming to the CEO and going, hey, what are we doing about Mythos? CEO is coming to the security leader and saying, what are we doing about Mythos? Yeah. And suddenly all these projects that were kind of getting slowly worked on suddenly are getting pushed straight through because CEO wants action immediately. So, like, love it or hate it, the way they did it, it's actually done a lot of net positive because suddenly all these security teams are getting the stuff that they really wanted to do through because the CEO is getting much more interested in what needs to happen.
I never thought, there's like weird trickle down value, apart from Anthropic's ARR, like there's trickle down value in the surrounding cybersecurity space from, I guess, more of like, it's like a prompt injection, right? It's like they've kind of stoked the fire a little bit to wake people up in a weird way. Are you guys seeing that in terms of like inbounds and pipeline?
Massively, yeah. There's so many of the situations we've been in recently, they've either expanded scope or they've massively accelerated, and it's just because they know that the CEO is now interested in pushing tools in, basically.
Yeah, wow, that's insane.
So whenever like, I don't know, like Darrow kind of gets on the mic and says, hey, like, you know, humans, it's game over for everyone. Is that a good thing, I guess, for you guys?
I think there's such a big pinch of salt. Like, it's like...
Yeah, of course.
You know, it's like the CEO of a water company saying, hey, you know, everyone needs to drink water. It's like, well, yeah, of course you're going to say that. So he's shouting at like all these things, I think, just like tone them down by like 5x. And then the message is probably a pretty good one. And much like with this Mythos thing, like, it was a bit overblown, but the message is a very good one and has had a lot of positive. So I think if we can all start listening to those kind of messages, like volume turned down, we'll be in a better spot.
I'm interested in what you think or like what your take is on the kind of like the normie side and there's so much negative press and negative kind of sentiment around like AI generally, right? Like we've talked about who was that guy that like got booed off the stage recently?
Eric Schmidt.
Yeah, Eric Schmidt. There you go. That guy. You know, getting booed off the stage by people who are in college graduating, saying, "Hey, like, you know, AI is bad, whatever." Right? How do you kind of navigate that, or what's your take on like us being able to kind of market AI in like a good way? Like, why, you know?
Yeah, I think we're slightly lucky in that respect in that we really have no choice in cyber. Like in other industries, you could theoretically ban AI, go a bit slower, you know, produce less sales material or something like that.
Yeah.
In cyber, it's like if we try and limit the speed at which defenders use AI, everyone's screwed. Like it's game over because you know, like a group of Russian hackers are not sitting there and going, I don't know, for the economy, I think we should slow down in how we're using AI here, right? They're just gonna crack on and plow ahead. So it's out of everyone's hands in cyber. We just have to embrace it. The bigger challenge we have is that every vendor in cyber has suddenly become an AI company overnight. 99% of them have no idea what they're talking about or doing, and so for a buyer, they're just all getting confused with all the kind of AI washing going on, basically.
Okay, and like, from a perspective, like let's say an enterprise buyer, right? When they're coming to you guys, like, what are they saying? Like, what are they like asking for? Is it like, so when I hear it, it's like, okay, yeah, cybersecurity, but like, what is the actual conversation? I assume it's like the CISO who comes over, or maybe part of that team, but what is the ask? Like,
It's usually about speed and precision of how quickly they can get to the answer they need. So security is just like, well, where you have like endless, you know, back to my crowd analogy, endless people in the crowd, which one am I going to go after?
Yeah.
Most security products are basically some kind of way of figuring that out. And what people are now saying is it's gone from, you know, I need to try and find out what's bad in a week or in a month or whatever and get it fixed. It's gone like, how can I do it immediately? So that's the big switch. It's like, because there's so much more power in the attacker's hands, all the things are changing to what can I do in almost real time? How do I figure out what the bad thing is almost immediately and stop it? And that's where I think a lot of things are going to go over the next couple of years.
Yeah. Interesting. And then I guess like what can we expect from you guys coming up? Like, what are you excited about internally? I'm a bit worried about this mic, by the way. It's like slowly. Can I move that? What? Move the thing up?
Move up.
Sorry, I'm just worried about that there. Like, that's going to come off. Can you help with that?
Yeah, I'll do it.
Let's continue it. What internally, what are you guys excited for that you've got being released at the moment? Because I mean, most of the conversation we've had is, I guess, connected to the external threats and how you guys can help defend against that. But like, is there an element here where you're thinking ahead of the curve in terms of innovating, or like you want to try and not preempt something because like you can't tell the future? But is there something you guys are working on internally that is exciting and fun? That you can...
Yeah, we've got a couple of big product launches coming this month, so we'll see more about those soon. The main trend, I guess, is like we need to move as far as possible towards finding the thing that like no one was looking at before. Like the issue, they weren't in the crowd before, right? They were just a thing no one knew about. How do we find those and get ahead of them?
So we got what is that? What song is that? It's
I don't know. Let's keep going.
It's a tune. Oh, it's done now. Just a shot to the system. Sorry, yeah, we missed that. Can we hear it again? Like, what are you guys focusing on? What are you guys excited about?
Yes, we've got a big product launch this month, so we'll see a lot more of that soon. But basically, the main thing we're trying to shift from is things people knew about and which one do they need to focus on, towards things that they probably never, like 2 years ago, they would have never known about and they would have never cared about. But those are the kind of things that attackers are now going to be going after and be able to get at. So we need to basically build systems that can find like the really, really, really novel way in and go and fix that for you. So that's a lot of what we're going to.
What are those things? Like, can you give us an example of
like
those?
A combination of, let's say we're like like an airline booking app, right? And previously we might be able to find the more obvious problems in that app. You know, you use a third-party piece of software, it's got a vulnerability in it, we need to fix it. Increasingly, attackers are going to be able to go after much more subtle things, so much more something that you need to understand how the booking page works, how the database works, how the code behind that works, chain all these things together, and you go, oh, there's this really neat kind of like sneaky way in here. And that's the kind of things that we didn't always used to really care too much about because they were too hard to attack. Now they're going to get a lot easier to attack, so we're going to need systems that can be really, really subtle in how to find out the kind of really like low probability attacks that might happen.
I get a question as well. Like, the barriers to entry to create in general are getting lower. Software specifically, we're seeing a lot of like vibe-coded stuff that's popping up, and I guess people, based off the audience that's targeted at, essentially like non-technical builders now building, probably won't be as familiar, me included, would not be as familiar as like, okay, what's the security element of setting this stuff up? Is that creating like kind of like a mass market of like, oh, here are some easy targets?
A little bit. We are seeing some of that. I would say though, like there's this narrative that like software is getting easier to build, and it's somewhat true. Basically, the software we used to use is becoming really easy to build. Right, classic software, point and click, database, front end, whatever. The software that is now cutting edge, I would argue, is actually getting harder to build. Because now you've got like these LLMs in the background, you've got agents you're trying to put together, you've got massive costs like inference bills that can spin up. So there's this narrative of like, oh, software's easy now, all software is going.
I can like, it can kind of easily just make Salesforce or something, right?
You can like easily one-shot a simple application we used 10 years ago. But the degrees of freedom that now go into modern software, which is now AI, are actually way bigger and way broader than traditional software, which is basically typically like a database, a front end, and some workflows. Now you've got so many different things to think about, and so there's this. I don't know. I kind of disagree with what people think about like, oh, software is becoming easy to build. It's actually become harder to build in a lot of cases, and that's kind of misleading a lot of people.
Yeah, so true. It's like we're kind of like we're looking backwards when we're building all this new vibe code and stuff.
Look at this app I could build in 1 minute that we've had for 20 years. So, well, yeah, of course. In the same way, like in the 80s, they figured out ways of going up the layers of abstraction and quickly doing things that used to take 3 years to do. We're kind of going through the same thing where people forget that like the new thing remains cutting edge and remains hard.
The frontier's always pushing up.
And it ends up just them using a worse product that they built, and it keeps breaking.
It's prone to being attacked.
And then people just move slower. That's so good. I like that.
Dude, we are at time, I think.
We're out of time, I think.
This is super fun. I'd love to do it again on our regular show. But thanks so much, man.
Nice one.
Appreciate it, guys.
Good to meet you.
Cheers. Thank you. Nice one. Boom. Okay, who is next on the show? I just want to try and sort this slide out.
I think it's pretty good. I've sorted it out. Hello. How's it going? Good to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Ronan's just sorting his mic out or doing something with it. It's on.
Squeezing behind.
He's breaking his mic. It's fine. Sit down. You'll be fine. We're. How are you? Are you good?
I'm great. Yeah.
Good.
It's a nice control room.
It's quite cool, right? Yeah. I quite like it. It's like everyone who's coming in can see.
How are you doing?
It's pretty nice.
It's an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. We always do a pretty bad job of introducing everyone, and I'm sure the stream already know who you are, but do you want to introduce yourself and what Proxima Fusion is, and we can get into a bunch of questions?
Sure. So I'm Martin. I'm one of the co-founders and chief engineer at Proxima Fusion, and we are a spin-out from the Max Planck Institute of Plasma Physics. And we are designing and building what we believe will be the first generation of fusion power plants. So that's our goal.
Bunch of questions. How do you choose that as a path, and why should it be you?
You mean me personally or the company?
Yeah.
Me personally? Oh no, I just got very lucky. So I have an engineering background. I worked at McLaren Racing and then at Google X in California. And after nearly 7 years in the US, I was looking to do something new and ideally move back to Europe. And opportunity of a lifetime, I met a group of plasma physicists at Max Planck Institute of Plasma Physics. In 2022, when the world had suddenly changed in fusion, there was this huge why now moment. There was this amazing experimental results, and then this machine that had been built over the last 20 years, breaking performance records, and simultaneously its two biggest flaws were fixed in research in the same year, and everything has snowballed since then.
Just like the right time.
Yeah, right time. Incredible team of this initial seed team, and I, just perfect opportunity. And I couldn't say no to the tech, of course, but actually the team is what really made a difference.
Awesome. And like from I feel like now we're coming into an era of more hard tech is not that it wasn't in, but it is kind of back in, especially from like a venture perspective. Like, have you seen initially funding this type of thing? Was it as popular when you were building it as it is today?
So this company was founded in 2023, which is before the massive AI boom. There's a lot of attention on energy right now, and a lot of it is on fusion. There have been some really massive rounds in the last match of weeks. So now is a very great time to have a fusion startup, and to be Europe's leading fusion startup puts us in a really, really great position. At the beginning, no, it wasn't. We needed some visionary investors. It helped that there were a lot of funding tailwinds in the US. So Bill Gates and Breakthrough Energy Ventures had put about $2 billion into. Thank you. Had put about $2 billion into Commonwealth Fusion Systems. This is a spin out of MIT, and that sort of almost legitimized the field. But it still took, for a pre-seed round to happen in Europe, it took some visionary investment, and that was led by Plural. I don't know if you've ever met Ian Hogarth.
How has that changed? How has the sentiment changed? From 2023 to now, energy is like this. This kind of it is the thing now. It is like the next frontier of go and win energy in in terms of sovereignty. That is how countries are going to get ahead and are going to be powerful, right? So can you talk to us about how the sentiment has changed, with investors, but then customers, and then just general market sentiment as well?
So we have a lot of tailwinds behind us as an energy company.
For sure.
And it's not just AI, right? If you think specifically about Europe, we're also going through an energy sovereignty crisis, which is it's not the right kind of tailwind you want, but I think Europe is waking up and thinking we have to own our energy supply chain.
For sure.
And fusion is the one technology which is independent of natural resources. So if you think about any fossil fuels or even nuclear fission, you need to be able to get the coal, the oil, the uranium. If you think about wind and solar, you need space or you need reliable wind. There's not so many valleys you can still fill with water. I think Scotland is 100% maxed out on where you could do useful hydroelectric. So what's next? So the promise of fusion is you can separate energy supply from natural resources, and it's just the countries that own the technology. But unless you get in at this key moment of the race, you won't own that technology. And that's really what's shifting.
Okay. From a bottleneck perspective, right? I mean, that's what a lot of the conversations that we're having on the show, a lot of it is based off AI, and I think that's acted as a catalyst to wake people up to certain geopolitical risks, positioning, owning your own stack, tech sovereignty in general. From a bottleneck perspective, is this something that you guys are sort of building around now that AI has become a lot more, it's in everyone's conversation every single day? Do we have a specific crisis around our competitiveness globally? One with energy, but two also with AI.
You mean Europe?
Yeah, Europe.
Europe or the UK. I think we massively do. What are the advantages Europe has in terms of AI? We have ASML, and we have a lot of really brilliant people that work at DeepMind. That's about it, right? But what could we have? Let's just assume we're not going to have a frontier lab and cutting edge models. We can have compute, and we can control a lot of the important supply chain for chips, but you can't have compute without energy. France, for example, is emerging as a front runner because they have this amazing nuclear power. But in the long term, you really need something like fusion, I believe.
Talk to us about the choice moving back. Like maybe it was personal reasons, but also like you're building for Europe to be a frontier, state to like globally, right?
Yeah.
So you were in the US, then you came back to Europe. Like, was there that kind of inkling of like, I want to be building for Europe to be at the frontier?
So I think for me, there's a really important maybe sort of qualification on that. We're not trying to build fusion for Europe. We're trying to build a great global fusion company from Europe. So that fundamental difference is really important to me. We want to compete globally. We think Europe is the best place to do that. When you start thinking about making a fusion company, you've got to pick your technology branch, and the one we think is the front runner it's called a stellarator. This is a machine that was demonstrated in Germany that I mentioned broke all of these records. If you want to build a stellarator company, you've got to work with the only institute that's ever built a relevant stellarator, which is Max Planck Institute in Germany. You've already got a head start there. Our competitors in the US, a lot of their key components are coming from European suppliers. The supply chain for a lot of the fusion industry is actually in Europe. So there's a good argument that the best place to build a fusion company is in Europe. Not many industries you can say that for. For me personally, I love California. I love working at US-based tech companies, but my home is here. And I want to build here, and I want to hire, and more than anything, prove that you can build a company that when I was 21, I would have dreamt of working at from this continent. We got offices in 3 countries, headquartered in Munich, I live in Zurich, and we've got an office in Culham, near Oxford in the UK. These are the hotspots of key technologies we need to build a reactor. It is the great place. I'm just happy that it makes me feel really proud to be able to do it from here.
That's really cool.
Yeah, I love that. That's so cool.
You mentioned there your competitors. What metrics are we competing on right now? Like what does a company like yours compete on metric wise? Are you guys commercializing the technology already and the energy already, or like is it research speed? Like what are the key variables that are competitive?
Fusion is a space, but people have been working on fusion since the 1950s. Right? There's a long legacy in research into fusion. And there's this running joke in fusion that it's 20 years away and it always will be. Our argument is that actually, no, it's probably about 10 years away now, actually, for real. But we have a lot to prove to get there. And if you're being really, let's say, if you're trying to simplify the whole picture, I would break it down into 3 pillars of risk. There's scientific risk, and we have a huge advantage that we're basing ourselves off the results of a machine, which has really retired an awful lot of those scientific risks. Our concept is it's the one fusion concept that's been demonstrated at scale that can operate in the fully stable, steady state condition that you need for a power plant. And that's been demonstrated. So for us, we think in our concept, scientific risk is the lowest. Then you have the technical and execution risk. Not only do we have to build the technology you need to take a next step from a research machine to a power plant, you also have to be able to execute on a facility scale construction project, an engineering project. It will be one of Europe's greatest projects when we build our next machine in the early 2030s. And then the third is the commercial risk. And just recently, you may have seen, we had this really amazing announcement where we've got a partnership with RWE, which is Germany's biggest utility. They operate today power plants all over the country, and they're also decommissioning Germany's nuclear fission fleet. And one of those decommissioned sites, which you can have all kinds of opinions on whether you should turn off or turn on nuclear fission power plants. But if you do turn them off and they're essentially brand new, you now have the most perfect site to put a fusion power plant. And to be able to have this incredible partner so early in our journey means I think that third risk is also quite low. Yeah. So we are 100% focused on the core basic technology and working towards this demonstration stellarator.
I wanted to ask you about what the future of like kind of compute and energy kind of like looks like, right? Like is it going to be a wide breadth of a bunch of data centers, kind of like fusion, like data centers in space? Like what does the future look like? Is it going to be owned by one kind of stack of technology, or will it be kind of a breadth? Like will some hyperscalers be using data centers in space, and then some will be using something else? You know what I mean? Is it going to be kind of
we have to wait and see what happens with data centers in space.
I mean, I'm personally quite bullish. Hence why I think there are
use cases where it could be very, very interesting. What you can't do is you're not going to be making steel in space, right? You're not going to be charging your electric car with solar panels that are flying around in orbit. So there's still a huge amount of electrification and growth. Just imagine, the global south having air conditioning in every home. Where's that electricity going to come from?
Yeah.
The global electricity and energy demands, even ignoring AI, is going to explode.
Yeah.
Just think about all our industries trying to electrify where they can. We have to. The only tailwind here is it's not just AI; it's also climate change. Fusion has the benefit of being this totally green energy source. So yes, data centers in space may well happen. It's probably neck for neck with fusion on timescales, I think.
Really, you think?
And we are absolutely, with absolute certainty to me, at some point going to still, even in the long future, we're going to need terrestrial power at huge scale.
Yeah. Okay.
We had I forget the two co-founders of a company called Normal Computing, and one of the co-founders mentioned on the show that I think it was by 2030 or 2028 that they could expect in the US like a 30 gigawatt shortfall in terms of their energy production paired up with what the demand was looking like.
Yeah.
Is this something that you guys look around at ultimately are you trying to bridge that gap, or is it something that's close to your heart?
So we have to pay a lot of attention to that. So I run our engineering function. There's a lot more to Proxima than just engineering, and we have very recently completed our next iteration and depth on our techno-economic analysis. It's something we take very seriously, but I'm the wrong person to talk to about it. But so I'll give you just a sort of interesting anecdote. Hungary, right? It's not a massive country. But because of the history of Hungary, they have quite a lot of nuclear fission. And I think they have one nuclear fission power plant. And I assume it's right in the middle of the country. And I think it has 4 500 megawatt electric reactors. So it produces about 2 gigawatts. That produces 50% of everything Hungary needs.
Really?
And it runs 24/7, totally green. Our concept, and we published now a couple of years ago, it's actually what Cherry, seeing as we're here, they led our last round based on a lot of that work. So we published our proposal for what a stellarator-based power plant could look like. I think the idealized fusion power plant is 4 stellarators, around a central maintenance facility, because you have to maintain these things, and it's not like a jetliner where you can fly it to a maintenance factory. You have to build the machine with its maintenance facility, so you should have some modularity there, and it will look like that plant in Hungary, providing 50% of the power for a small country. And if we have a 30 gigawatt shortfall, I don't know the numbers, you can imagine that would be 10 of those plants.
Okay, so then what does the future of Proxima look like in terms of are you going to have, how many plants would you have per country? Is it going to be 1 or 2 per country? How does it work? I'm naive, right?
So let me tell you what I'm focused on right now, which is a little bit nearer term than that. So we have, and I'll tell you a bit about where I think we're going. So very first step for Proxima was to invest heavily in a new way of designing these plants. So for our first 6 months, we were a simulation company.
Cool.
Then we used that platform that we built to design this conceptual power plant. We published that, and we did that completely in the open because we want to make sure that scientific work can be peer-reviewed, so that risk that pillar is driven right down. Then, what's the most ambitious and advanced technology we need to apply to this? We want to take this machine in Germany, this reactor prototype that I mentioned we're building on top of. We need to take as few technology leaps as possible, but where are we going to take those leaps? It's the magnet technology. So that's why we have an office in Switzerland. We do all of this R&D, and we're right now testing our first large-scale coils. That is our, what are we focused on today? What are we focused on in the next 5 years? It's building this machine we call Alpha, and that will be a stellarator that demonstrates this net energy from the plasma itself, from the fusion reactions in the plasma. And that's when we'll show that these machines can scale to a power plant and demonstrate it in a full-scale facility. From that point on, it's how do we get to our first-of-a-kind power plant? And that's where the partnership with RWE, that utility in Germany, comes from. And beyond that, our goal is 50 of those by 2050. So first we have to get to the first core technology, then we have to get to the first demonstration of an integrated machine, then we have a pilot plant, so it's first of a kind, and then scale. And I could go on forever.
Please,
this is not unprecedented, right? So in the 1960s, Britain was the first country that really scaled up nuclear fission. France in the 70s and 80s did the same thing. And these are like those classic like S-curve. You know, France went from nothing to, I think, 50% nuclear in 10 years.
Yeah.
This can happen again. This is not unprecedented. Once the technology is demonstrated at scale, which we think we can get to very early 2030s, then it's like, go. Unleash the Stellarator builders.
That's so cool.
I need a better quote for that.
We can work on that.
That's your 50 by 50.
Yeah, we'll coin it when it happens. We'll coin it. Don't worry.
50 by 50. It's so crazy.
That's so interesting.
That's so nuts. Last question. And it's a genuinely curious one. Like, when
I
you
realised
guys
I stole your laptop, by the way.
Oh, no worries. No, that's fine. When you guys are chatting to VCs in general, some of the conversations are always around, okay, well, you know, what's your TAM? Like, how big can this get? Like, is that even something that's worth mentioning with you guys? Is like, the market is like a global, it's energy, right? Like, do they even bother putting
it's humanity,
questions?
It's your market. Yeah.
It's like, do they even bother asking about
your
that?
TAM is everyone on Earth.
Okay, so energy is, it's a massive industry, maybe the biggest industry. How much of energy can we take? If you have a fusion company, I think it's $1 trillion company.
Yeah.
Right. But we don't want to be around selling stellarators out of the catalog, right? I think Proxima can be a lot more ambitious than that, and we have to be able to justify the amount of capital that we're raising. So we really want to be an energy company, and it just happens to be like the crown jewel will be the fusion technology that sits at the core of this. But really, if you want to be a $1 trillion company, I think you need two things. You need to be a very broad like technology platform company. You need to be solving all your problems with technology. Otherwise, you'll cap out at like they're already massive companies, but you'll cap out like Boeing or Siemens, right? If you really want to hit $1 trillion, you need to be this broad technology platform company. I don't know if you read any of the SpaceX IPO documents.
Yeah, I've been looking at some of the valuations that are absolutely insane.
It's wild.
Was saying I can't remember what the closing predictions were for post-IPO, something around like $2 trillion.
It can be, you can debate that forever, but they are two things. One, they're this like broad technology platform, everything from AI all the way down to the compute and the power and how you get
they're doing the whole stack.
Full stack. Google's the same, right? It's models, it's compute, it's the chips themselves.
Well, it's like consumer,
like
B2B,
apps,
the whole thing.
The
ads business, all of it.
But the other thing you need to be a monopoly, which makes people pretty uncomfortable. But if there's going to be massive like technology value and there's going to be some form of monopoly, I hope we can do it in a high integrity way, and I think doing it from Europe is the right way to do that.
Sure. Dude, really cool.
I think we're in
Thank
you so much.
Thank you so much.
Pleasure, man. We'd love to have you back on. So sweet.
Thank you so much.
Really appreciate it. Yeah, you too, dude. Thank you very much. Have a good one.
Next on the show we have Joana is coming on the show.
Joana coming shortly. Dan, that was a fascinating conversation.
That was cool.
I've been messing with my mic a little bit today.
It's fine. Fine.
I'm just a little bit worried it's going to fall off.
Hey, you won't need notes. We're pretty chill.
No
We're pretty chill.
No notes allowed.
We don't have notes.
Joana.
Oh right.
My stuff, so I kind of want to give her an extra.
It's so good to meet you. How are you doing? You well?
Hey, how's it going?
Hi.
Thank you for joining us. Welcome to the European Technology Network.
Thank you. I think we met at Slosh.
We did.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, really? Did I Slosh?
Yep.
Oh, it might have been in the dark.
It was. I think it was the Visionaries after party.
Yeah,
it was in a basement. I think.
In the basement.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was where we met Lars.
Smoke and all of that.
Yeah, lots of smoke. Lots of stuff going on.
Lots of people,
anyway,
lots of dancing.
thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Let's do an introduction. I mean,
Sure.
I'm taking Ronan's bit now. He likes doing this.
No, that's quite all right.
Am I doing it right?
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah. We'd love to have an introduction from you. I think we try and give an introduction, but we're not very good at it. So
Okay.
As you can tell.
Yeah.
Okay,
Please.
okay.
Yeah.
All right, so my name is Joana Cartocci. I am the co-founder and chief operating officer of Robeaute. We're a medtech company based in Paris and in San Francisco, and we're developing a micro-robot for neurosurgery to provide access for new tools and therapeutics into brain tissue for neurosurgeons, tackling brain disease that touches 1 in 3 people around the world.
Wow. Okay. A question that I usually like to ask when we're talking around like hard tech is like, what is the founding story here, and why?
Yeah.
Like, how did this come to you?
So my co-founder, who's a roboticist, an inventor, been in extreme environment robotics, so space, undersea, nuclear. He lost his mom to brain cancer, an inoperable brain tumor called glioblastoma. It doubles in size every 5 weeks and has tentacles that are invisible to imagery, so it's worst of the worst. He saw what it was like to not be able to intervene in the brain with the tools that we have today, and decided to, help change that. And so we joined forces, I think 2016, 2017, we founded the company, and we've been building since.
Amazing. Nice. And talk to us about, the progress you guys have made, even this year, you guys are growing quickly. The development is fast.
Definitely. Nothing like this has ever existed in a neurosurgical OR. In an OR in medicine, So this was a science fiction idea until we actually set out to do it. And so when we started out, the technology to build, to fabricate at that scale did not exist. So we tweaked machines that were used for other things to adapt it to our fabrication processes, to microassemble. So this has been almost a decade, 9 years in the making, engineering, hardcore engineering, with a team that has grown over the years from an initial 2 to 3 to 5 to now 40. So between last year and this year, we've doubled in size. And so we've got some really, really good folk. We have gone through quite a few technical milestones. We're now in animal studies. We've moved from acute, so where it's a one-shot test, to chronic studies, where you then awake the animal after the intervention and see how that's going. So we've yielding some really good results, very optimistic, and ramping up for our first in-human studies.
Can you talk to us about, because I've never done it, but going through testing, all of that kind of process, what does that take from a company to go through that? If a test might fail, or when it does succeed, what impact does that have on a company that's only really 9 years old? It's not a very old company.
Not for this kind of technology,
no. Not at all.
If we're talking about AI, yes, but if we're talking about building a microbot for brain surgery in a regulated environment like this one,
doing something like no other company has ever done before, it's
there
pretty,
is no
pretty
blueprint.
Microbot. So can we let's just blow this up a little bit.
Let's visualize it a little bit. So this is
what scale are we at?
Yeah, this is a 1.8 millimeter diameter device. So it's about a centimeter in length. It's a chunky grain of rice. And it has a little tether.
It was a risotto rice.
Yeah.
Is that right? Risotto rice?
Exactly. An arboreal. It has a little tether behind it.
Yeah.
That powers an engine, and it's built in building blocks, right? So you have a steering unit, you have an embarked engine. We put an engine within it. We have the world's smallest micro engine that we embarked into the device. We have microelectronics. We have a tracking unit, because you make something that small, you want to make sure that you know exactly where it is at all times.
Yeah.
And then it has this tether. But before that, you have interchangeable extensions. So this is a modular device in the sense that it's agnostic to use case. You have the spaceship, the rocket, and you have cargo that you attach to it to specify the task at hand. So if you attach a biopsy tool, it can go and collect samples spatially through the brain tissue. If you attach a therapeutic, a drug, under the form of a capsule or delivering a catheter, then you can infuse the brain or convect certain volume of therapeutics or electrodes. There's this huge trend with BCI. It's trend in the good sense. We need it, and so there's a new generation of technology that is coming up for precision interventions in the brain, but they all lack a way of being delivered locally. So that's what we do. We're that last mile that allows these tools, these very sophisticated therapeutics and tools, to be delivered with great precision in the brain, exactly where it's needed and nowhere else.
Okay, so that's you guys like reducing the surface area in which you can apply certain elements, right? This is hyper-localized. This is the space of a grain of rice.
It is, but at the same time, since you're able to move spatially through brain tissue, you can do a number of drops. Right?
Are you guys building the tools as well? That kind of, you mentioned it's a modular device, right? Are you building the tools for
Not
that as well,
all.
or no?
Not
or
all of them.
you've created your own economy of like other companies building
Exactly.
tools for.
Exactly.
Okay, that's so cool.
The idea is we build the delivery system.
Sure.
With the software that goes with it that allows for visualization, for tracking, for data return, all that stuff, and then we partner with partners to embark their solutions and take them locally.
Yeah.
We're not a pharma company.
No.
You know, building a BCI electrode is a totally different company also. So I think it's a collective endeavor, and that's where things get exciting for us.
Yeah,
we call
that's
it an innovation to launch 1,000 innovations.
Let's go. I love that. That's cool.
Grain of rice.
What's the
It's visually very striking.
you guys are you're at the stage of animal, and then they awake when
So animal goes through. You were asking earlier of the different stages, right?
So how many more stages have you got? To go?
Animal and then human.
Okay.
So at all these stages, you go through. You work with regulators, regulation. So the FDA in the U.S., the EMA, to make sure that everything is patient benefit. You know, it's really patient centric. This is always to help solve brain pathologies, and we're talking about cancer, we're talking about neurodegenerative disease, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, SLA. There's so many neuropsychiatric disorders. Everywhere where precision is required and where patient-specific, site-specific, and pathology-specific data is a plus, that's where this new infrastructure will change everything for neuro. So when you're developing that, you go through first the iterative process of getting the technology together. Is it mature enough? First, feasibility, right? First, you're inventing something entirely new, so you test it and you iterate, and it doesn't work the way you want it to. And we started with a larger scale, and we went down 3 sizes. Okay. And we're at the final size, which is the size that I was saying earlier, and that's the one we're going to be using that we use for our animal trials, and that we'll be using for the human studies too. And so animal studies are divided in 2 parts. You have an exploratory study, and then you have a GLP study, or let's say a study that is recorded for the dossier that you then submit to the FDA or to the EMA for them to give you authorization to then go into human, right? We start our GLP shortly, and then we submit that data to the FDA first, and then the EMA shortly after, to get authorization to move to our first in-human studies.
Okay, interesting.
So this is a 2-year affair max.
Yeah. What are they specifically measuring for? Like, you know, the data. What are they looking for in the data?
Yeah, what gets like a tick?
Yeah, safety first of all.
Yeah.
You know, they want to make sure that a microrobot moving non-linearly through the brain is safe, because today what you have are needles and rigid catheters that only move through the brain in a straight line.
Yeah.
So they want to comparatively make sure that you are less destructive or equally destructive as one of these tools that already exist.
Interesting.
And then after that, you show benefit.
Yeah,
right?
fine. Yeah.
And it's very specific to which indication you tackle first. So with a technology like ours that can do so many different things depending on the extension you plug in, we're starting with spatial biopsy, advanced biopsy, because it's a really good use case to demonstrate the safety of the device with a procedure that surgeons are extremely comfortable with, that they've done millions of, that the FDA knows really well and has known for the past 30 years. The first surgical robot was actually a robotic arm that was used to position a biopsy needle. So, and it hasn't evolved since then much in the brain. Robotic surgery has evolved in the rest of the body, not for the brain. So we're taking it back to the surgical robotics roots and really going deeper into the brain and being that extension to the surgeon's hands in an area that is extremely eloquent, extremely sensitive, that is the control center of our body, really.
Pretty important area.
Yeah. So you don't want to screw it up.
Yeah, absolutely. A question just as we come to the end of the interview, one last question. What is, when this works, when you guys win, what happens? Like, what's the end goal for you in this? Like, when you can go, okay, it's done. Mission achieved. Like, what is that?
I think
it's when the work really starts, surely, right?
That's when it really starts. Which is, it's not an easy thing to say for ourselves.
You can't go to the beach, right?
Well, that's where I've been. But actually, yes, because you then hand it over to surgeons, and that's when that's when it spreads.
Sure.
You know, because they've been dreaming of something like this. To be
100%.
able to diagnose, treat, and monitor with one tool in the brain with the level of precision that they need, and with that kind of data, live feedback, it's tremendous. So it has a direct impact where the aim for us is to make sure that it stays agnostic to use. So it's not used just for biopsy. It's not used just to deliver one kind of drug. It's not that it keeps that multitude of different applications. That's going to be something we want to keep in check as a company, you know, and make sure that we're not selling it to the highest bidder and it only stays to treat one thing. But that requires us to have a very strong manufacturing and industrialization process and infrastructure set up to
when do you start
respond to that
planning
need.
for that? Do you
now?
You know, really now?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
you know maybe 2 years kind of if
Yeah.
you're thinking you know maybe conservatively 2 years, maybe 3 years.
Yeah.
You have to get that all in
absolutely.
place. Wow,
You
that's
need to make sure that what you're building is scalable from a
for sure.
manufacturing
Yeah.
perspective and in volume, because this
Yeah.
is a single-use device.
Yeah.
You're not repurposing it from different brains. So you want to make sure that you have enough of them,
Yeah.
kind of like you would have a syringe. You know, you need as many syringes as
But they're a
many
bit more
micro robots.
complicated than
Of
building
course.
syringes.
It's not as sophisticated. A syringe. A syringe isn't as sophisticated.
So
But
good.
that-
We are 2 minutes over, so
Sure.
we have to now, unfortunately.
worries.
But thank you so much for
Thank you
educating
so
us.
much
That was
for
fascinating.
having-
Thank you. I
Thank you
really
for
appreciate
having
it.
So good to
Really
meet you
awesome.
properly as well.
Yes.
But yeah, thank you so much.
Congrats on all the work as well.
Thanks.
Really cool.
Cheers, Joanna.
Good stuff.
Thank you. Right, call to Adam. Call out to our friend Adam.
Boy.
What are you hiding over there?
I got some hats.
No way, some more hats.
You got more
Am I allowed to get a hug or is it?
Yeah.
How's it going?
How's it going? Good.
Good to be here. 11 hours. You guys been here for like how long now?
We were live since 12, so we're just coming up to the end. 2 hours 50.
You're actually one of our last guests, so there you go.
second
You can
last.
you can help close the show. You know.
Okay, let's make it fun then.
All right, what's going on in your world?
First, guys, congrats. You guys been doing. I mean, I met you right around Slush, and you look at 6 months later. I don't know, 3 times the number of followers on LinkedIn, crushing it. The unavoidable tech platform. I think it's fucking awesome.
Unavoidable. That's how we try and make sure. You know, anytime you go on LinkedIn, it's ETN straight at the top.
Yeah, sorry to everyone whose feeds just
dude, give us the update. Tell us about Yellow. Tell us about everything that you're working on. You know, why are you here? What's the
Why am I here? It's true.
Why are you here?
No, listen. I mean, it's been an incredible year, 2026. So much has been happening. So we've been on the fund for 2 years and a half now. So we backed a little bit 25 teams. More than a third of them raised the next round, which in the end we invested at a very early stage. So it takes a while for them to graduate.
Yeah.
So it's already very exciting. The latest one of them being Wordsmith, the AI agent for in-house single teams. We can talk more about it, but they're crushing it, and also a lot of exciting founders we backed this year. I think you had on the show a few weeks back, Davis, Mehdi, the River State.
That guy crushed actually.
How are they doing? When was it? It was maybe a month ago, maybe something like that. How are they doing since we've had them on the show?
It's actually growing faster than I would have expected. A bit like on a Wordsmith journey where everything's exponential. So I mean, for those who don't know what Davis is, it's kind of, if you think about real estate developers, they have different tasks that they have to do in order to develop a new project. So typically, when you start a project, you'd have a greenfield or just GPS coordinate. And then you send that to an architect firm that takes weeks, if not months, to get back to you on okay, well listen, in this particular area, you're gonna have those constraints, those are the things you can build. This is the sort of ROI you should expect.
Keep going.
It's all right. The mics can't pick it up. Only we can hear it. But
that's when I wanted the music to drop. So it's perfect. And there comes Davis.
It's usually just a small blast from upstairs. There we go.
So anyways, these guys, what they do is when you have those reports that needs to be generated by humans historically and it takes months, they do it in 48 hours at a fraction of the cost. So not only like if you're real estate developers, you can do more in the same year, but also it costs you a lot less. And so not only they're doing this, they're also developing their own model so that, you know, you can like generate your own like architectural design based on real world and zoning constraints. So it's very exciting. Also, these guys, not to mention, are 23.
Yeah, the guys are young.
They're a year younger than you?
Yeah, younger than me, yeah. Yeah.
You guys look tan, by the way, I must say.
We've been away.
Yeah, I know.
We had Monaco.
I heard.
Yeah.
We had Greece. You know?
Yeah, why weren't you in Greece with us? Come on.
Yeah, dude, what's going on?
Some people have to work. I mean, Panata looked like a lot of like interesting like work for you guys.
That was fun.
I didn't have a really good excuse to be there, honestly, except hanging out with you guys.
That was a good laugh. But no, we've been very lucky recently. Yeah, we've been flying around. We're now grounded here, ongoing. I don't think we have any more trips planned. We do have one actually next month that I don't know if we've not announced it. So we'll keep it.
Yeah, we have to keep it under wraps.
But,
so there's been Torino, Athens.
Monaco. We did Helsinki back in Slush back in the day.
Como
was good.
Turin. It's been good.
Would you say? Because I see the challenge in doing something in real life, vs doing it a distance. So what do you enjoy the most? Like studio?
I think that the in-person
we have a pretty light touch
fun.
approach, right? Whereas like, you know, all we need is a desk and a few mics. I mean, I know that's basically every podcast, but you know, it's like we try and be as versatile as possible, right? Where you can kind of like, you can mold yourself to the event a little bit. Obviously there's things that we need, but like, you know, that's the way that we try and do it. And then, you know, people are all around us. Like, we're not in a podcast booth. We don't need to be, right? We want noise. We want a bit of excitement around.
Random tunes dropping.
Like dropping every now and again.
About it's big investments.
That's the magic. That's the magic. Talk to us about the magic of yellow. You know, you guys pre-seed fund, and then pre-seed to Series A, or just pre-seed?
No, we can do a bit of follow-on, but we back we're usually first check.
Okay.
So that's what we do.
Well, let's go on that. Like, where's the magic in pre-seed now? Give us a source.
I think the magic is in supporting founders. You know, everyone like can do a bit of the, you know, talk the talk is like, what can you do to actually support them? And I would say this because like I've been a Series A, Series B investor, and I've been like a pre-seed investor. Like, founders need you a lot more at their earliest stage of their journey, which, you know, is more time consuming, but also very it generates a lot of like goodwill. Because you're here at the beginning, you're really supporting, you know, the first intro. If you think about it, if you had Series A, you make the same intro. By then, like, maybe they have like 12 customers. If I make this first enterprise intro and it's day one, then, you know, it increases by 100% because it's your first one. So it's very exciting, but you need to deliver. So to come back to what makes the magic, I think the magic is to deliver on your promises. And in our case, it's like both operational, the idea that, hey, we've been in the trenches, let us tell you about the things we did well and the things that we could have done better, and help you in your process of whether it's with like recruiting, fundraising, anything that you need to think through as you start. And I would say the second is commercial. So those intros, like being like, hey, well, are you selling to mid-sized companies? Are you selling to enterprise? If enterprise, what kind of enterprises? So, you know, if you think about a wordsmith, which we backed in Jan 2024 at the start, they were catering to like large enterprise customers. And so it's always about like the first customers that they can get access to. And sometimes those intros take a while to actually convert into like an actual contract.
Sure.
So if you can like push these at the beginning, the founders never forget.
Yeah.
And so you have a very special place with them. And so I think that's also exciting because that's what win this game is to, you know, support founders and build real relationships.
How do you go about like that early, right? Like, you guys are investing in as early as you can possibly get, right? Is that's correct? What do you like, how do you find these people? Like, are you just out in the field all the time? Like, maybe you don't want to give away all your alpha, but
no.
You know, what are you?
Where are you? Where are you all the time?
Yeah, when you
he lives in Athens.
To be fair, there's cherry. There's alpha at the cherry event. To be fair,
There is alpha at cherry event. But like, you know, where do you go to get like? Was it? You can be on Reddit forums. You can be at events.
Yeah.
You can be like, how granular?
Yeah, no,
can you
it's
get?
a very good question. I think it's a mix of things. There's 3 key channels. One is Sales Navigator. If you're on LinkedIn and you check who's building new things, to be honest, that's a minority of things we get. And then there's like other VCs, other investors, and then other founders. So as you build goodwill in the ecosystem, both VCs/angels and founders will think of you. Yeah. So you need, not too dissimilar to you guys who are top of mind when it comes to media, you kind of have to be top of mind when it comes to early stage investing. And so you build that locally, in our case in like cities where we're present and entrenched, like Paris, Zurich, Barcelona, to some extent Berlin. And you try to be more present in other, you know, hubs where you're not necessarily like locally, you know, based, like in this case London's where I come quite often.
Yeah. That's what are you most excited about at Yellow? You got any cool investments or any, you know, latest investments or any like news that you're excited about?
Yeah, I mean, Davis is definitely one. I mean, we're excited honestly about any investments we do. I would say the one that is like already the most advanced is Wordsmith.
Yeah.
The one we.
It's Ross McNair, the founder.
Was that?
Is it Ross McNair?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
I remember we had him on for.
They just did their Series B, right?
Yeah, we had him on for Series A, I think. I think we had him. For Series
you had
A.
him when he was. I think when he moved to New York.
Yeah, because then he got a. Yeah.
I mean, the guy's a machine. I mean, this one is like a good example of like founder market fit. Like the 3 co-founders, 2 of them trained as barista.
Yeah.
Before like becoming like builders themselves, so they're like, fuck all this, let's build companies. Ross sold his first company to Skyscanner, where he became VP product. From there, he was poached by Trevor Perk, now Perk, as a CTPO of Trevor Perk. And then like fast forward in 2023, the guy sees like AGI popping up, and he's like, okay, I need to do something out of it. So already within Trevor Perk, he started building like his own internal tool to like review NDAs and any contracts. And he was like, okay, I need to scale this. And we met them then, and like we backed him. It was Jan 2024. It's been 2 years, and he's raised like an A with Index, and now he's just like closed a big 70 million Series B. And it's very exciting because like even when I was at Atomico, I hadn't seen like the journey of companies going from 0 to, you know, 20, 30 million AR in less than 18 months.
Yeah,
it's kind of insane.
What's your experience from going from like a really, really big fund like Atomico to you know, building Yellow, right? Like what's the dynamic? You know, is there any kind of like meta that you can give to a VC at the moment who's maybe at a big fund who wants to go and start their own fund? Like what's the, you know, what was that experience like?
It's not easy, guys. Thinking about it, it's not that easy. No, I mean it's no, but as in I'm joking because I also undermine some of the challenges. You know, you come from a big brand.
But that's good. That's good that you did. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because if you thought about the challenges, you're like, oh my god, there's just so much. You know, there's going to be so many challenges. You're not going to do it, right?
That's why it's great to back like you know, young founders.
Sure.
Because there's the naivety that they're like, they're just going to put the hours.
100%.
To compensate on the new challenges that are arising. No, I would say like, you know, it's been amazing. I think some of the like, not necessarily challenge, but some of the elements to bear in mind is like, well, it's a people business. You're betting on people. Like there's no data when you come in. Like often you were saying as early as possible. Yeah. Like sometimes there's not even a deck, not even a Notion page. It's like, okay, we're bouncing back ideas with founders, and we're like, you know what, we're betting on you. It's like the business can evolve, but in the end, the team, their ability to execute, their resilience will remain. So I think it's the biggest change when you do Series A, where you know you analyze cohorts and whatnot. In our case, it's a people business. I'd say the second is like the sourcing is one of the hardest part. Because once again, if you're A or B, you can look at what everyone else has done at the seed, and you have like a tracker, and you'd be like, okay, what has Point9 done? What has Swedenbas, whoever has done? And then like you track. In our case, it's like, okay, you know, what is, you know, who is the next guy who's going to come out of like Revolut or Alan or whoever, VP level, and who's going to build. So you need to be, speaking to a lot of people, and you need to be there early in a consistent way. Because it's easy to have like this one founder friend calling you because his other friend is building.
Yeah.
It's another to be consistently in the room when these guys are thinking about it.
Yeah.
And this comes with perception and like being top of mind. And yeah, I would say that. And then maybe a third one is like, you only bet, every time you make an investment, you're betting on these guys to like crush it. Every time we do, like we make a case that this can become $1 billion company. The truth of the matter, like numbers speak, and unfortunately, few of them will fail. So it's also like being, ready to, that is going to be much more of a roller coaster when you do like Series B investment. And then like fourth, actually, that I'm thinking about, like the time involvement, what we were talking about. Like I see when you're at the B, you're going to be sitting at it's a caricature of what it is, but you're going to sit at the board, look at the KPIs, and have a conversation. In our case, it's like, okay, well, you still don't have a customer. Like, let me review your deck so that you can send it to like this family office I'm close to.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot more that comes into play.
You're almost like part of their, you are basically part of their team, essentially.
Yeah.
A little bit.
An extension of them.
Yeah, extension of their team, exactly, yeah.
I am cautious. We've run slightly over, and we have our next guest who's coming over right now.
Okay.
Okay, guys, I brought you some hats though. Because I see like Luke never wears his, so I'm like, shit, man. I need a. Maybe he doesn't like black. He doesn't like black, so I thought I'll bring you a blue one.
Oh man, you're so kind. We need to give you some more.
Oh, what a ledge.
You'll take out the boom. And it says builder in the back, because you guys are fucking great entrepreneurs.
Thank you, a ledge. Thank you, bro. Appreciate it.
Guys, thank you.
Thank you.
Dude, as always.
Always a pleasure.
Yeah,
thanks for having me.
Yeah, we'll chat after your show.
Cheers.
You here the rest of the day?
I'll come say hi after. Yeah. Hey man, how's it going? Okay, up next on the show. Oh, firstly, that was Adam, everybody. We've got Jonathan, co-founder of Barrigan. We're ready for you, sir.
He's tying up. He's got hats.
Nice.
Nice. What's it saying?
That's
bit of yellow VC.
Dude, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
We got a bunch of guys. All my old ex-employees are at your company.
Yeah, we hired the best. Seems that we're still missing one or two, but I'm sure we can change that by the end of the day.
Okay, look, for the viewers and the listeners, can you introduce yourself, introduce Light, where things are today? We want to get into it.
And thank you so much for having me today. My name is Jonathan, co-founder and CEO of Light. We built an autonomous finance platform for people who are tired of running on ERPs, replacing Oracle, Workday, NetSuite, Microsoft, and also the Xeros of the world. Working with fast-growing companies like Legore and Lovable, who's here later today.
So Max is knocking around somewhere.
He's knocking around, making them able to run with 2 to 3 people in finance, even though that 100 million is in AR, which is fun.
That's their finance team, 2 or 3 people.
But now, I think the true revolution of AI, especially in finance, but also maybe in other areas, is that not only are you automating what they used to do, but they're also finding that now they can do things that they didn't have the manpower to do before. And so the rest of the business is just expecting them to do much more. So everybody out there who might be terrified that AI is going to remove their jobs, don't worry. Once you automate yourself, the rest of the business will just request so much more from you that you couldn't do before, but now you can actually do that.
Let's talk about that segment, right? The ERP market is one that's been essentially devoid of any innovation for, I don't know, a decade maybe, like ever since 2010, and you guys are trying to successfully bring some innovation to that space, some life to that space. What when you're sort of looking at an industry like that that's just been kind of like, there's tumbleweeds knocking around. Some of these like NetSuite is one that comes to mind. So these like older incumbents, like how do you view that daunting task and think like me and my SWAT team here are going to go in
and take it on? We have you basically have 400 years ago in Venice, people inventing like double entry bookkeeping, and then you have people going like, oh, we should put this into computers, and then since then nothing has happened.
Nice.
Basically all of those machines were just like ported into the cloud, by basically copy pasting whatever used to be running on-prem.
Yeah.
Still, a lot of it is running on-prem for different like clients. And so you kind of like miss the entire cloud revolution. Like none of these systems support what cloud is actually pretty good at: multiplayer, always on access, real time reporting, notifications, etc. So we're actually skipping a cloud and an AI revolution and going into it and saying, okay, how can we do this completely different? I was just at a Gartner event earlier today, and you can just see around the booth that we have there all of the legacy providers and their entire approach to this. So instead of golfing and 10-year contracts and a lot of consultants, we're basically thinking, how can we enable you to use AI and manage that to build a much better experience for your own company?
And that, like I was going to say one of the things that always kind of comes up with with companies that are kind of building in a similar space is, the incumbents are so integrated into these businesses that kind of ripping them out is like ripping the heart and the lungs out, right? How do you guys go about tackling that that, I guess, problem, but then also an opportunity, because that once you've done that, you have the business is your customer for extended period of time.
There's two things there. We do like in many instances we do a rip and replace of a Workday or a NetSuite and switch that out with like a light installation. In that, we build a lot of our own agentic tooling to basically transform, wash, and clean up all of the existing data that they have in those systems and put that into light so that they have a clean foundation. That is a pretty good thing, because you really need a clean foundation and clean data in your stack so that you can enable agents safely to run on top of that. So that's been pretty good. And we've built an amazing team, hired the best possible out there that really understand how do we safely migrate people over, not only the data, but also ways of working, new processes, and activate them so that they can adopt and implement agents much faster.
Is it a case of just quickly, is it a case of educating the customers on the fact that their thing's already working, and it might be a little bit of a little bit of hurting, kind of it's not but it's not that bad that they desperately need to move over? Or is it the customers saying, hey, I really want to get away from this platform, but I have no idea how, please help me?
They are more in the latter. They're coming, how can we switch away?
That's good.
How can we do something differently? I don't think this thing we have scales to the new technology, to the new era that we're into. But even more fundamentally, a lot of the legacy platform were built a long time ago, which funnily enough means that they're built in really old architecture and really old ways of thinking about it. We had the privilege of being able to interview all of the Workday and SAP engineers and understand what did they get right, what did they get wrong, so that we can do something that really scales. So we can process much more transaction than an SAP instance can do for the same cost. The cost, when you get into significant volumes, the cost explodes completely with legacy players. It is I was speaking to a client earlier today, and Oracle is charging him $3-4 million a year, and for his volume, that's something that we can do for a fraction of the cost. Which is it's interesting, but it is that old idea of being, okay, once we have your data, we will just squeeze you for every penny we can get. And we're looking at it how can we actually enable you to do more things that you couldn't do before?
It's a bunch of those incumbents as well. Some of them have exited to PE anyway, right? So PE just comes in, squeeze the margins, there's no innovation, you're stuck with the same thing. And
Very little innovation. Very little innovation.
On the topic of innovation, I remember when I was selling Pigment, and we spoke to Eleanor, came on the show at Pigment and spoke about this, and CEO of Abacum as well, which you sit in that office of the CFO.
Great people, by the way.
Excellent operators, excellent builders. What I found really funny, because I'd been kind of out of that office of the CFO game from my time at Convergence, but also at ETN for about two years, that when I was at Pigment and we were selling, someone would go with a different provider because we were the AI startup. We were risky, and then they were, AI, no, this is finance. We don't know, AI for something, But now the terms have flipped, where it's
it's flipped completely.
Their board or their CEO, whoever it is telling them they have to get AI-enabled tools internally and be more strategic, right?
This is a new revolution, and we need to be at the front of that revolution. So we need to get those efficiency gains. We need to, and that is basically coming from the top down. And one of my biggest fear is that, like, I think we're doing a good job of delivering on that promise. But my little bit of fear is that not maybe every single vendor, some of them can be a little bit cynical, are not delivering on an actual AI promise and just reskinning a legacy platform and calling it AI. And then I see some of those implementations going a little bit wrong. So what I think is important is that I think this technology is real. I think it's a game changer. I think it's here for good. And we're only utilizing like 10%. We're still figuring out how can we really deploy this so we can like get insane productivity at scale. And we're seeing that across a bunch of different industry. Like we're talking about finance, you also see it in legal, you see it in coding, obviously. We're going to talk about like an Anthropic or OpenAI IPO later today. 2 to 3 trillion in the equity market. Somehow that fund needs to get sourced.
Somehow we need to find the money down the back of the couch.
Sound in the equity market. So we'll all have to see, right? But it is like a transformative and technology. And you know, we started actually working with OpenAI before they launched ChatGPT, because we had some friends over at Sana that were using it, and we were like, this is really interesting, and I think we can build some meaningfully different product here. And we're still at the early innings of this, but some of our clients, they have multiple agents doing like reconciliation, treasury transfers, transferring money between different accounts, bookkeeping, doing double checking of the bookkeeping, audit assertions, etc. So that they can have like real-time close, but that's just the beginning. They can have real-time visibility, but they can also have real-time audit. So they can just give their books at any point in time to the auditors and basically have all of that done without any of the humans touching it. And that's like a possibility that a lot of people would be doubting or afraid of only like a few months and years ago. And it's changing so quickly.
I'm sure it is.
What you can actually do in this space, it is fascinating. And it's fascinating. It's fascinating to see CFOs engage with our product and how they're using it in Slack or in Teams to basically manage the agents and get them to do different things. And they're loving it.
Well, I thought it was cool. My head was like in the sand, theoretically speaking, with like AI and finance for 1 year. And when I poke it back out, the whole narrative is flipped on its head.
Yes.
Which is insane. And 1 year is like a lifetime in AI world.
It
is a lifetime.
But in finance, in the office of the CFO, like they naturally have to be very, very careful with the things that they adopt and how they change workflows, because it is a highly regulated environment, right? And you have to make sure that you don't mess things up.
You got to have regulation. You got to have certainty. You got to make sure that the SOX and the ISOs is all in place. So we got to do that enterprise job, and we hired the right teams and people for that, building that all in place. So there is that side to it, but one of the things that you have on the fear, like I think you need to look at the fear and the opportunity and see, okay, where am I looking at this the right way? And one of the things that we're doing with our clients is say, okay, what you can do now with agents, if you want to, inside of Light, you can basically have control agents doing what would otherwise be very heavy compliance flow for your company, but you can embed that using agents to do those controls and checks and then notify you when something is gone awry. So don't think of AI as that's a trade-off between AI and compliance or AI and control or AI and safety. But think about like, how can I join the two together? How can I think about designing workflows and agents so I can get like more safety, more control? Some of our clients, they use it to check, I have 2,000 customers. All of those customers are B2B contracts. I got like VAT numbers for all of my customers. Every month I want the agent to check that those VAT numbers are still active in the national registry. And so before, you would then have an intern or somebody, Googling all of that shit and like double checking it all and noting it down. And now you can just flip that on inside of Light. And that is like a level of control that you just wouldn't have available to you before if you're a finance team of like 3 or 4 people, because nobody wants to do that thing because it sucks. It's boring. But think about how can I automate more controls and admin using agents, not how do I lose control, how do I lose safety. You can actually have both of them if you think about applying the technology right. And that's the big thing that we're all figuring out, but there is a path forward where you basically can apply this technology to get more of what you fundamentally want, which is safety. You want to do things cheaper, safer, and smarter, right? And so that is basically, there's a way there that you can do that.
Yeah. Definitely. Final question, because I'm conscious that we're going to run out of time. What do we have to look forward to at Light? What does the next kind of like half of the year look like for
We're
you
building
guys?
out what we call organic software.
Let's go.
And that is amazing. That is
Sounds good.
I think all enterprise software is going to be like this in a couple of years. We're happy to lead the charge, but it is software that is adaptive, it is self-healing, and it learns from you. So in Light, the agents, it's learned from each individual user. It has memory. Each agent has memory, and the company has memory. And then we do a sweep every day. The agent will run between 10 and 40 times, depending how much activity you have. And then it looks at all of your transactions, and from that, it makes little observations. And then once a day, it looks at all of your observation and then derives insights. So it starts to tell stories about you and about your company that you'd never told it and you wouldn't expect it to know. And so it tells me that, hey, we have an offsite last week, and that's just causing an increase in travel spend of like 80%. And that's why we have that variance in that last month. And I was like, internally in the company, like, who told it this? And like, nobody did, but it gathered it from all of the flights going to the same place, all of that activity happening in that same place, and then people going home, and then it could see, I can see people taking like Ubers and Lyfts home, and then like the offsite return is sort of tapering out. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. And fundamentally what you need is like a story of, finance is basically all of this economic activity. You want to like tell a story from all of the economic activity, and the better and more real time you can get that story, the better you understand what is going right and what is going wrong. Like, am I selling to the right clients? Am I selling the right product? Do I have like a good margin? Have I have my cost under control? Where do I need to like look forward? And the agents can just bring you so much of that. So that is what we're building out, and we're going to have some cool releases we're happy to share with you guys.
Let's go. It should be interesting. You've got to come back on.
Absolutely.
You can't let Ricky or Greg or Callum have a company card if they're getting Ubers on the company card.
They are, exactly. But true story. They were going to the bar, and they were just hammering the bar, and they were not, attaching the receipts. So I told the agent, like, if they don't attach the receipt within like 12 hours, freeze the cards. And then they came to me, it's like, fuck me, look, like, it gave me this warning, Jonathan. Am I in trouble? It's like, no, it's okay.
Mate, you'll be Callum. Callum's the ringleader. Sort it out, Callum.
That's hilarious.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Good stuff.
Pleasure.
And that is the show. That is the European Technology Network at Cherry. Thank you very much for tuning in, everyone.
Ciao. See you later.